Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone out to our city council meeting tonight. So all those are here in our chamber and all the 20 million that are watching on TV. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Started, I've asked Chief Steve Adams to come up and give us a invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Our Father in heaven, as we gather, as we go through our agenda, that thy Spirit might guide our minds and our thoughts, that we might discuss the things that would benefit this city to continue to progress in a manner that would be pleasing unto thee and also unto ourselves. And Father, we remember and give thanks to those that were in the military and civilian that died and gave their all during the Pearl Harbor incident. We also give thanks to those who are currently fighting for this great country. And we ask you to bless them and their families, that they might know of our gratefulness to their service. Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to serve our citizenry and for this opportunity. Please continue to guide and direct and bless us, so we might be able to do the things which thou would want us to do in this endeavor. And say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. I've asked Council Member Beck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand and repeat the pledge after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move into public comments. Anyone from the public that'd like to come up and address the mayor and council, unless you're on the agenda tonight, please come on up.
Hello. My name is Paul Dayton. I'm a resident here. Spoke a couple times. There was one thing I wanted to bring up and ask and just sort of get on the mind of the council. We are in the 21st century, and I know that shortly, before too long, a lot of us will be driving EVs. And when we switch over to EVs, we are going to be sort of changing where our power comes from. That, as a citizen of Spanish Fork, or citizens of Spanish Fork, will start consuming power from the city. I noticed that earlier the city had a program to compensate those who switched from gas to electric lawnmowers. And if we're not in Spanish Fork, there's actually programs that offer subsidies for those who install level 2 plugs in their garage or in places that work for charging your EVs. So I'd like the council or the city just generally to consider if that's a possibility. I know there's lots of money floating around with the infrastructure project, so that might be something, or the infrastructure bill, so that might be something to look into. I also think it would be interesting if the city would consider setting up EV destination chargers in locations, or subsidizing that for private industry in some way. If you go look on the PlugShare app right now, which shows public EV chargers, there's only one in the entire city of Spanish Fork. That's at Walmart, and that one's not compatible with all EV cars. It's a DC fast charger. But again, with the city running its own utilities, it would be interesting to see if that's something that we might consider. We've got many great destinations here in the city, parks and rec, and hopefully someday a pool. But if we were to put chargers at those locations, an hour of charge right there could add 26 miles of range to a car, so that's something that would be very good with clean air options. One final point I'd like to make is it'd be interesting if the city would also consider rate programs that individuals could sign up for if they have EVs. With an EV, you can schedule the time that you're charging. Sometimes it's automated, or if you're just at home, you can choose to plug in your EV at a time that would make sense to be conscious for, optimize graded consumption of power. So anyway, think about that. It's the future. Before long, I'm sure we're all going to be driving EVs. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Chad Argal. I'm a citizen of Spanish Fork. I needed to do this as a citizen. I know many of you know that, and they're going to have some things on then, but I want to take just the time as a citizen of Spanish Fork to say thanks to Mayor Leifson. If you've not been a council member or a mayor, you do not understand or even know how much dedication that takes to meetings and time out of your life and people knocking on your door and other things. And Mayor Leifson's done that for 16 years, and what a great success he's done. I just want you to know how grateful I am as a citizen. I want you to know that those things that you've done for this community, to keep this community safe and a great place to raise a family, is continued, and it will continue as you leave this post for many years to come. And I just wanted to take that opportunity to say thanks to Mayor Leifson.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up? All right. Seeing none, let's go to council comments. Let's go with, let's start with Council Member Marshall.
I'm going to be pretty short today.
Thank you.
This is not the time where we get to roast him, right?
Yeah.
That's later?
It's gonna be at 8
That's
o'clock.
later.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be really short then. I don't have any comments this month.
I love it. Councilmember Beck.
I just have a couple, and I don't know if anyone else will cover this. The Shop with the Cop will be this Saturday morning at 6 or 6:15 a.m. And so if you hear sirens up on Highway 6, there will be youth with our police officers, and a lot of work and time and energy has gone into this in so many different departments and volunteers. So just thank you for making those kids that maybe are less fortunate during this time of year feel loved and get to know our police officers. I'm excited for that. And then the senior citizen, who is over senior citizens? Is it Chuck, Mike? The senior citizen dinner, the youth city council will be there volunteering, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the youth city council for being there, and that dinner is this Friday night at 7?
Yep.
6, okay. For any seniors that want to join, you are invited to attend that. And then just wish our residents a very Merry Christmas. And for those who are struggling this time of year, just keep in mind that we have utility assistance programs here at the city, and then we have a local food pantry, Tabitha's Way, that has the means to help so many families. So if there are needs, there are a couple options there, and we appreciate serving our residents, and thank you for just being the best out there, and Merry Christmas.
Councilmember.
Thank you. I'd echo what Stacy said, just around this season, and everybody thinking what they're grateful for. And as my family and I celebrated Thanksgiving, and we asked our kids, randomly, hey, you got to give us 3 things that you're thankful for. Each one of them, and I got a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old, but each one of them have now somewhat grown up being involved in the city in some fashion, and so they were grateful on some level for something about the city. Jagger, the little 5-year-old, was grateful for the rodeo, which I know we're all grateful for, and that's a ways down the road, but he's already dressing as a cowboy ready for it, so we got a ways to go, but good. I got a good wife that will take the time to dress him up in his cowboy stuff before he goes to preschool. So it's kind of cute to see. But just grateful for all the residents, all the service organizations, and we do live in a fantastic place in the state, in the country. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be one of those lucky ones to live here. We had a lunch today with the Rotary Club up at the Chelan. So thank you for the Spottons for hosting us up there. Thank you for the Spanish Fork Chorale for singing some Christmas songs for us, and us as a council and mayor attending there. And Aaron Rogers, our president this year, has done a great job with the Rotary Club. It was kind of fun to see the year in review and all the service that they've done in helping make this a great place. So bright things ahead for the Rotary Club next year. And I'm excited to to see those things and be involved in that. Heather Youd from our Chamber of Commerce was going to come tonight, but didn't feel well. So she sent me with some items to make sure to read here in the public meeting on the 9th, which is Thursday, December 9th. We have a ribbon cutting for Remarkable Home Loans. That's down on 8th North and about First between Main and First. Behind Carl's Jr. Brand new building there with Keyland title in it, and Remarkable Home Loans is going to do a ribbon cutting on that day. On the 15th is a ribbon cutting for Tabitha's Way mural. If you don't know where Tabitha's Way is, it's next to the chamber office, just on First North and almost First East. But a really cool side of the building has been painted in a mural that's really cool and has some Spanish Fork landmarks on it and stuff. And Tabitha's Way is going to do a ribbon cutting for that mural on the 15th. And then on the 16th, we have noon networking. That's a lunch at the High Chaparral, where we're all going to wear our ugliest sweater. So I'm sure Gordo has one I can borrow. It's from his regular closet or something. Yep, but we'll do that too. So thank you for the chamber continuing to be active and help us businesses out in town. I sent some images to Nick Porter. Just wanted to highlight the good work of our electrical department, our power and light crew. They have to take care of a lot of issues, Mayor, and some are more intricate than others. And this a couple of days ago, their issue was to partner with the Division of Wildlife and get a visitor off of the trail. So that was, I'm not sure where on the trail that was.
You don't want to know.
Okay, somewhere along the trail, and people had reported it. They tranquilized the bear, got it down safely. Sam, my buddy Sam that works for the department, made it look like he could actually wrestle a bear. He can't. But they got some pictures before getting it in its better location away from residents. So thanks to the Power and Light crew for stepping in and helping take care of what could have been a problem on the trail. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. Not only are we grateful for Amber dressing Jagger as well as dressing you, so she's got a tough load ahead of her. Thanks to those that came to the light parade. It was awesome. And if you haven't had a chance to get up to the Festival of Lights, take your family up there. It's $8 a car, and it's kind of a fun family tradition for us, and so I invite you to do that. And we had a dinner last week with the Kiwanis Club. Appreciate all they do. And of course, like Mike mentioned with the Rotary Club, they do a lot of the same wonderful things in our community. So just grateful to be a part of that. And then lastly, the only thing I wanted to mention, appreciated Chief Adams mentioning in his prayer, today is Pearl Harbor Day, and it's a very important day. My grandpa, Keith Gordon, lied about his age right after Pearl Harbor so he could go serve in the Navy. And he served in the Korean conflict certainly shortly after Pearl Harbor. And so it's a day that we remember those who have served, and I am so grateful for the women and men that have made this land free and continue to protect my freedoms. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Councilman Argyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to just second what Brandon said. December 7th, Pearl Harbor. My father was on a destroyer in the sea when Pearl Harbor was bombed. And I still remember on the radio, they asked people to call in and just say if they remember what their grandparents were. And I remember my mom telling me that when that was taking place, she was sitting in the house on the radio, and they were telling them that if they would probably leave Hawaii and come to San Francisco and California, and they'd make it all the way to Kansas. And I remember her telling me that she was petrified of that was going to happen. And she remembered that to the very details and everything as they sat there and listened to the radio as the President of the United States talked about it. So grateful for those who served during that time, because that brought a war on us. and a lot of millions of people died through that war. So grateful for those that have served, and grateful for those who are serving now that continue to keep us safe from this great nation. Mayor, just wanted to report that Station 61, that study's still going on. There's been a lot of interesting things take place as they've studied that and looked at what we need to do to stay viable with that fire station in the future, so that we can continue to grow as a city. And then also would just like to make sure we wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. We've had a couple of tough years and we still are struggling a little bit. I'm looking forward to 2022. I hope it's a better year in all aspects. Hopefully we can get supplies. That's the main thing, and the toilet paper and the water that's really concerns us. Thank you for everything you do, and then the employees of Spanish Fork City also. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Just a couple things I want to talk about. Our Rodeo Committee this last week went down to Las Vegas and the NFR. There's meetings before the NFI starts, and we went down there and had a good meeting. Learned a lot of things that the NFR is doing, and one of the purposes we go down there for is to get our new specialty ags, contract personnel, and everything so we can continue to have one of the best rodeos in the state, if not in the nation. And so the committee did a real good job of going down there and getting those things lined up. One other thing I'd like to say, I would just like to thank Chief Steve Adams. This will be his last council meeting since he's going to ride off into the sunset. Heard somebody else was leaving, so he said, I'm quitting too. So I just want to let him know how much I appreciate his leadership and what he's done for the city with our police department and our safety people. And so thank you, Chief, and appreciate all you've done. And also, just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Let's let that gratitude go throughout, not only through Christmas, but let's keep that as long as we can. Let's love one another. Let's be kind to one another, and let's show that gratitude to each other. And what a wonderful place it'll be as we continue to do that. Okay, let's move on to Spanish Fork 101, utility billing update. Reader's Digest version.
Always for you, Mayor, always. All right. So we're making a change to utility bill timing. So it's going to hit your mailbox about a week later, and it's going to be due on the 25th instead of the 20th. One of the reasons we're making this change is to standardize the service period. So right now, when somebody calls and says, what dates of usage is this bill for? Well, it depends on which service you're talking about. If you're talking about cable and internet and garbage, it's through the 20th. If you're talking about power, it's through the 15th, and water and PI, it's through the 10th. And the change is to standardize that, so it's through the 20th for all for all of our services. And the other thing we'll do is we'll shorten the time between when that service is used and when it's due, which is good for the city and good for the residents. So there's not that lag between when they use the service. It will also lead to smaller final bills for customers when they terminate because there'll be less time before they there will be less usage in that final bill that they receive. So it will be a smaller bill, and that will lead to smaller uncollectible accounts. I already mentioned how we'll standardize the usage period for all services. That'll help customers understand our bill a little bit more. The bill will be due the 25th, but we will have a grace period that allows anyone to pay before the end of the month and still not accrue a late fee. Those people on ACH AutoPay, that will pull, it's previously pulled on the 20th of the month from their bank account. It will pull on the 25th, unless the 25th is a holiday or a weekend, then it'll pull on the next business day. All right, so what customers may need to know is that they may need to adjust their payment date. I know that Tyler's the one that he paid early because he's just a go-getter. But if he was paying on the 2nd or 5th or something like that before the 8th, the bill wouldn't be generated yet. So they're not going to be able to pay that then. So they'll want to move their payment date back till at least the 8th or past. And customers that are paying on the 20th, if they get paid on a little bit later in the month, they may want to move it back to the 25th, and that'll be just fine. One thing that we did is we moved the redates back. We did it over several months so that we had not just one bill that was 40 days worth of usage, but several bills that are 33, 34 days worth of usage. Yep. And that is it. Hopefully it's quick enough for you, Mayor.
You did well.
Any questions?
Great. Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon,
Second.
second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, let's go to public hearings, ordinance A05-21, Utah Valley Annexation and Annexation Agreement. Oh, well, so you're going to talk a lot less than Dave did, right?
Of course.
That's what I like to hear.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go ahead and advance to the next slide.
Oh, wait a
Oh,
second,
wow.
wait a second.
All right. Let me regain my composure. Hold on
Thank
one
you.
second. This item is pretty straightforward. It's back before you. I believe you looked at it last in September and gave some direction to the applicant to coordinate with the city staff. Details of an annexation agreement that would kind of address utilities, services, and infrastructure that would help the area be utilized if and when it was annexed into the city. Looking at the minutes, I wasn't present for the last meeting. There's also some question as to what zone would be appropriate to sign it upon annexation. And so, depending on how you act tonight, we could possibly need to make changes to the annexation agreement, whether that's the RR that was discussed or the I-1 light industrial. Without further ado, we do have the applicant here tonight. We do have a public hearing that we need to take care of, and then I believe the annexation agreement in its entirety has been provided for your review. Any
Okay.
questions at this time?
Would the applicant want to talk after public hearings, or would you like to talk before?
Happy to talk when you want us to talk.
Wow, that's a great answer. Let's go into public hearing, and then let's hear, and then you can address after that, okay? So I need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone that'd like to address from the public this annexation, you're welcome to come up, state your name, and you get your 3 minutes. You're on the clock.
On the clock. So my name's Lynn Oplenop. We live adjacent to the property being annexed. We are not part of the annexation and won't be at this time. A couple of concerns. We realize that property owners have the right to do whatever they want with their property, but as neighbors, we also have the right for quiet enjoyment. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk to the city to make sure that you support us in that quiet enjoyment. So a couple of issues. The annexation itself is not at issue. It's the future, the proposed rail spur that will service this, and the blocking of our access over the railroad, and there's a lot of things that go into that. So we would ask the council or the city to ensure us access, proper access, reasonable access out of our place into the annexed property. And also at the time, the rail spur is built to have a 20-foot setback off our property and a 8-foot masonry wall dividing our property and the rail spur. So, and we have met with the applicant, and they've been reasonable to discuss that. So we would like this all as part of the annexation agreement, just because their intention is to flip this, and the next guy's coming in will not have the same agreement with us or anything else, so we would like that as part of the annexation agreement, which we've tentatively agreed to with them. Just so it's done and made sure it's followed through with at the future date, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come and talk about this annexation? Okay. Oh, sorry. Hey, you know, if you snooze, you lose there.
My only concern
Oh,
with this
state
is,
your name, please.
oh, Keith
I know,
Peterson.
we all know you, but.
Well, yeah, Keith Peterson, live there on 650 West. So, this summer's been a trial with your sewer out there in front of us. That's my concern. That's been a mess. We've called the liaison and he just kind of mulls it over. I know it's your contractor. I know you can't get anybody else, but it's been ridiculous. Our concern, my wife's biggest concern is snow plows. Who's gonna plow that road? Right now, you guys, you know, you hit the border of your town and that blade comes up. And it's the worst part, you know, us getting up 1,000 north right now, that's our worst part of the travels. The county takes better care of us in that aspect than the city does. So it's hard for us to get up 1,000 north. Does that make sense? That's my concern. I want something to happen here, you know, where's the county, an agreement between the county and the city to where are we gonna plow to? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about these citizens that we don't seem to care about when we're running our sewer out to expand things? I don't feel like I wanna be a part of the city right now for that reason, because in the same aspect, I know, you know, if we were to run our irrigation ditch up through the city, you'd hold us to city standards, but you didn't hold them to city standards there on 650 as they ran that sewer. And that's just, everybody knows that. There's nothing there. That's my only concern is, you know, we moved out, you know, I'm just venting a little bit. We moved out there 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and we still had a place in the city. So we signed our kids up for the city sports. We're still paying the taxes on it. I was letting my sister-in-law live in the house, and I still had to pay the county impact fee, the higher fee for my kids to do the sports, everything through there. There's some feelings there with that, you know, and you know, it made no sense to me. We did it. We'll play by the rules, but you know, let's start thinking about the Palmyra community and let's not impact them over this, you know. Let's see where we're gonna plow to and make good neighbors, because, you know, soon we'll all be in the city, I'm sure. So
Yep.
I'll just end with that. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith.
You. Anyone else? Should we go out of public hearing and have the applicant talk, or let's do that. Let's make a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Argyle, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go ahead and have you come on up.
Good evening. It's good to be with you again tonight. Last agenda of the year. Oh, sorry. My name is John Jensen, the applicant, one of the applicants here, and it's good to be with you. I appreciate the comments that have been given tonight, especially by Lynn, and I think generally speaking, yeah, this is good. We feel like it's appropriate to help support them in their desire to maintain access, as well as create the setbacks and potential screening, be it, you know, 8-foot walls, those kind of things. So for our point of view, we're happy to help support that and make that as formal as it should be. So generally speaking, as you know, we're interested in doing an industrial project here. It's a fairly large area. We have quite large capital investments that we look forward to doing here in Spanish Fork. And while I understand the idea of flipping property, ultimately we're bringing on bigger partners and that dilutes us. And so ultimately we're still part of the project. We're just not as majority shareholders anymore. But good news, we'll still be around. And we look forward to be a part of the site plan applications and so forth to help
implement some of these conversation points. So as you know, the staff and us have worked through the utility and roadway exhibit, which is part of the annexation agreement, to help define many of the concerns and needs that this area would require to allow for development. So we feel like a lot of those things have occurred, and I feel like we're generally in line with what the expectations are with the city.
Great. Anybody have any questions, comments for him? Okay, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
If we don't have any other question or comments, so if, I assume, Brandon, that we don't have the wall and the, what they talked about in this agreement? Can we add that in to make that agreement be a part of, if they approve that, if they can put that in? So are you good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So sorry, just to be clear then, 8-foot masonry wall, I'm kind of maybe looking at Lynn, 20-foot setback, and then access. Were those the three things that I heard? Access to the
And
north.
we discussed either a permanent easement to the north, or it depends on the
Okay.
plat map, or right to buy the property for market value to allow for access out to the north.
Does that make sense?
Well, come on up.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just trying to make sure we got it all covered.
I had that note and I didn't read it, so I'm going to try to repeat what I think Lynn and our other partner talked about today, which should be what you just said.
Okay.
We're expecting to provide a reasonable 20-foot permanent private easement to the north of the Alpinop's property through our property so they can access the future roads. In addition to that, where we are contiguous to their property, to offset our potential improvements 20 feet, that being most likely the rail spur. And then also, as long as the city supports this like they did on Wasatch Pallet, to have an 8-foot masonry wall, which I think you've changed the ordinance to allow for that. So generally speaking, yeah, and we intend to do that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
great. Thank you.
Hopefully-
That's good with you, Lynn? Yeah. Perfect. All right, if there's no other questions, or go ahead.
Well, Keith, and Sarah's my cousin, so she'll hold me, responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows where I live. But I guess maybe just some clarification, Chris and the city, maybe just a nod about this, but if we're annexing into the city and where the Petersons live on a map here, this is the city and they're in front of their house for 100 yards maybe or something, isn't city, I would hope we're not picking up a plow on, if, when roads are built, we're plowing that road out to where it's now annexed into the city.
Our philosophy has always been leave the plows down, even when we're on state roads or county roads. So I'm not sure what he's talking about, but if he wants to talk to me,
I'll get you Chris's personal cell. No, I appreciate that, and I do appreciate you bringing up the point of the sewer out there. That has been a complete,
There were days people couldn't leave their houses.
yeah.
They couldn't actually drive down the road.
I thought bringing my Jeep down there was gonna be good enough, and it wasn't. I had to turn around one day. But we're running into quite a few wetlands, or wet issues down there with the pipe going in, and hopefully those are coming to a close, because I can see your pain there. That's a tough gig.
My opinion, Mike, is just remember the Palmyra community feeds into your businesses, we feed into everything, and we
We're
don't.
part of your
If you're gonna keep talking, then you need to invite him up here.
I'll repeat. I'm from Palmyra, originally. They live in Palmyra, and I think we do need to make sure we create good partners, good neighbors down there, because it will be someday that you're residents of Spanish Fork, you've been residents, you patronize our businesses, and so we're gonna make every effort to make sure that that's a good relationship, rather than the tough ones that maybe it has been recently.
Mayor, I want to thank Lynn and Millie and John and your group and our planning commissioners for working through this, because it's been long, lengthy, and I think now that we've got to the end, it's something that hopefully everyone's happy with. So, I mean, mostly, maybe, yeah, compromising, maybe not all the way happy, but anyways, I just want to say thank you to everyone just working together. I appreciate watching that, so thanks.
Can I make just a comment or 6?
There, I know.
I know. You were going to come to me, I know.
I know, always do.
Just from my perspective, a couple of things. First of all, just generally speaking, it feels way too soon for the city to get out in this neck of the woods. We have an enormous amount of I-1 zone on the north end of town that has great access. This has terrible access. The map does an okay job of explaining how access happens within this parcel, but it doesn't show how you get to here from our city very well at all. That's still a concern for me. It just feels like we are ahead of ourselves here. And I don't know that the city needs this piece into our community at this point in time. I can see over time when we're ready to do more of this, it coming in, but it just feels very one-off to me. But I do like the fact that the applicant has met with the owners and walked it through, because a few months ago, this was a no way in the world, and now it feels a little bit better for me, but still, I'm glad that that's been worked out, or at least to some sort of satisfaction. It just, again, feels way early to bring this piece into our city.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, then I'd entertain a motion or no motion.
Do you dare try it, Mike? I made notes, but I can't even read my own notes.
You write down the condition?
Yes. I move to approve the Utah West Annexation and Annexation Agreement. The proposal involves annexing some 120 acres located at approximately 900 west, 1500 north with Industrial 1 zoning, and approving an annexation agreement contingent upon the applicant entering into the attached annexation agreement with the understanding of the 8-foot masonry wall, the easement to the north, and
20-foot setback
the 20-foot setback
from the property line
of the property. Yeah, okay.
to the masonry.
Okay. As stated by John earlier. How's that even? Is that good, Vaughn?
I got them all done.
Did we get the spur, or is
Maybe
that?
I'm curious about where exactly is the masonry wall to be built? North side or just near
On the west side.
the west side?
West side along the
'Cause it
property
goes-
line to the adjacent to the proposed restaurant.
Just along your property line?
20 feet from our property line,
Yeah, that's the
the
setback.
setback.
Oh, wait, so it's not on the property
Not
line?
on our property line,
20
so it'd be
feet away.
20 feet from
I
our
thought the
property
rail
line.
spur was 20 feet from the property line.
The wall would start 20 feet from our property line. And then the rail spur.
Well, we're all just kind of, there's nothing really. We're pausing for a commercial break.
Our property runs right into there.
Just kidding.
You got,
Pete didn't find that very funny.
Can I come to the mic?
well, sure you can. I'll let you.
This may be tricky, but I think it's reasonable to insert this contingency or condition in this annexation. And then you might have to correct me if I'm doing this wrong. Is there a laser?
That other one might be better.
Oh.
The other stick. There you go.
Okay, sorry. They're referring to at least at a minimum right here. And it's not in the annexation. However, with it being a part of the annexation motion, it would ensure that we own this property. And it would ensure that we couldn't go forward with the rest of our annexation if that didn't happen. So I feel like it's a good place to stick it, even though you wouldn't see it until that part gets annexed into the city.
You good with that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Really, until we have the rail spur there. we don't-
Perfect.
we
Okay.
don't even want
Are you good with
to-
that, Vaughn?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you
Okay.
for clarifying.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and that's great. And we want to get it right, because we'll put it right. And so if you both agree, then we're good. Whatever they said,
Brandon, I'll
You
second
did good,
that.
Brandon.
Thanks, Mayor.
I'll second that.
Got a second by Councilmember Beck. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
No.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Okay, let's go to ordinance Z 19-21, Commence Way Office Building Zone Change.
This one should be relatively easy. It's an exciting one as well. Never say that? Did I jinx it? Sorry.
Not with Shane.
Yeah, but, yeah.
The property highlighted here is just south of the hospital. What you see in the picture at the top is the hospital parking lot. The applicant is looking to build an office building, if we jump to the next slide, just on the north portion of it. When they met with staff and looked at what they wanted to do, their proposed building is 54 feet in height, and the C2 allows a max of 48 feet. And so the option that was deemed to be best to pursue was, instead of amending the height citywide for the C2 zone, would be to amend this property to the business park zone, which basically has many uses which would be supportive of the hospital. Planning Commission recommended approval. And we also have a picture, if we go to the next slide. This is a proposed office building. It's not part of the rezone, but I thought you'd like to see it. Any questions for staff?
All right, we might after the public hearing. All right, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall.
Second.
Second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public would like to come up and talk about this ordinance? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Got a
Second.
motion by Councilman Argal and a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any questions or comments about this? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Commerce Way Office Building Zone Change. This proposal involves changing the zoning for parcels located at approximately 7th East Marketplace Drive from Commercial 2 to Business Park based on the following findings. Do I need to name the findings?
Nope, it's all involved in.
Just say in the staff report.
In the staff report.
There you go.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Marshall. This also is a roll call vote. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilmember Marshall. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Let's go to ordinance Z 18-21, TLM Spanish Fork. Request a zone overlay.
This request is for the Development Enhancement Overlay, which the City Council has utilized a number of times, most recently for the law office on South Main. It's utilized for properties that might be changing from one use to another, and for those reasons, sometimes it's difficult to update the site or bring it into current standards with the city ordinance. And so, in this case, it's the old Kmart building. They're looking for relief from the current parking standards and the current landscaping standards, and so that's the impetus for the request for the overlay zone, which gives you as a city council leeway and the ability to waive some of those current standards. As far as the landscaping, we currently require 15%. They're at 6%. If we jump to the next slide and the next one, you can see they are adding some additional landscaping, which in my opinion will help beautify and have a better look and feel for that mass of parking. It'll get them a little closer to the 15, but they'll still be shy. And then the parking, if you go back a slide, you can see Expressway Lane, and then on the other side is Canyon Creek Parkway. There are cross-access easements and parking agreements that are in place. Just on the current site for a building of this square footage, we'd require 400 parking stalls. They have about 271, but as I mentioned, they do have the agreements in place to the east and to the south. And so,
So Brandon, they don't get credit for either of those agreements,
in my opinion, they do.
but
I'm
it's
just-
not a factor in the 270 versus the 400.
No,
Okay,
no.
10-4. Thanks.
Sorry. Any questions?
Okay, there might be, once we get done, sir.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go to public hearing.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall. Second. Second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone would like to talk about this zone change, you're welcome to come up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Argal,
Second.
second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions, comments, editorials? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance Z 18-21 TLM Spanish Fork. This request involves approving the development and enhancement overlay zone for a 6-acre property located at 900 East Expressway Lane based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions,
You just put
as in the staff report.
perfect.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. This also is a roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Aye. All right, ordinance Z 20-21, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork for the sugar beet factory.
Thank you. Dave feels bad that he couldn't be here tonight, but hopefully his memo was excellent in explaining where we started with the direction from the city council to look at a few areas, and then the areas that were selected and then presented. This is the memo here, then presented to the planning commission. We'll look at the sugar beet factory area first. And this map is updated since the planning commission meeting, as well as the memo. Pretty straightforward. The area 1, which is the old sugar beet factory itself, planning commission recommends changing that from I2 to the RR zone. There is a pending general plan application in process for that property as well. For the reasons outlined in the memo, and the most significant one being that the current tenant is relocating, staff felt it would be good to get that zoning in place as far as transitioning the use of the property in the residential direction. 3 is recommended to the RR as well. And then section 2 initially included I-15. Staff felt we could separate that out as area 4 and just move that one forward. It would be I-15, changing it to RR. The planning commission did recommend to deny changing the zoning for section 2. The applicant is not able to be here tonight, Mr. Erickson. He did make it to the planning commission meeting though and stated his concerns as far as the unknown with being grandfathered. It didn't sit right with him going from businesses that include a landscaping, sheet metal, and I believe a beauty salon currently in there. If the zoning were changed, he was concerned what would he do if one of those tenants left and the same or similar type use wasn't looking to come in. Would he then have a vacant building that he's making payments on and whatnot? And so his request was if the council did want to make a change, he would request you consider at least continuing it to a time that he could be present to voice his concerns. But as far as the sugar beet factory, the recommendation before you tonight is to change sections 1, 3, and 4 to the RR zone and leave section 2 as is.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brandon. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go to public hearing.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall.
Second.
Second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public like to come and address this issue?
Motion to go out of public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any questions, comments?
Is that where zone 2 is, that, oh, God, his name's gonna go blank. Where is the garbage collecting, the country garbage
Country garbage.
collecting? Is that where it is? Is that where I'm looking?
Brandon?
Where the granary accidentally burned
Burn
out?
now.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
property.
Yep.
Accident.
Yeah, accident.
He's got some great stories about it if you catch him.
Okay,
Perfect. Okay.
thank you, Brandon.
I would entertain a motion. unless you have a question.
I have a question.
Oh.
On number 2, I would move that we continue it to next time. I think that it makes a lot of sense to roll it into this bigger package as RR. However, I would like to hear from the property owner before we did that. So I don't know if that's,
Yeah, that's, all we're approving is 1, 3, and 4.
okay, so 2 would come back then.
2 would come back to us.
I was gonna suggest making sure to specifically table item number 2.
Okay.
I think the applicant has some good concerns as expressed by Brandon. At the same time, we also have the same kinds of concerns that if it isn't zoned to a different zone and he gets a different tenant, you may end up having, maybe not on this parcel, a cement plant, but you might end up having a new use that isn't congruent with what you've been talking about in the area. So it isn't something I think we just
So what we want to do is just
go away from. Table that specific.
table that one.
Yeah, because we've held the public
So
hearing,
in-
we've done
yeah.
the noticing for it.
So in your motion, just table that one on
Oh.
Zone 2. There you go. Did I put you on the spot?
You did.
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
I can't wait for later tonight. So I'm making the motion?
Oh, please.
There's no
do.
more comments? This is just me?
Oh, no, when you,
All right.
when you quit talking, everybody just stops.
Oh, I move to approve ordinance 2021, changing the zone designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for the Sugar Beet Factory area zone change based on the findings from the staff report. And I recommend that we table, or the motion would include tabling section, property number 2.
Perfect.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Marshall, a second by Councilmember Beck. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, ordinance Z 22-21, changing the zoning designation, amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork for the Sky Meadows zone change.
What, E?
Oh, did I miss E?
Yeah, 21.
Parkway area.
Oh, excuse me. Let's go back to E. Ordinance 21-21, changing the zoning and amending the official zone map for Spanish Fork City for the North Spanish Fork Parkway area zone change. Thank you for interrupting me. Don't let it happen again.
This one's over a little larger area. We do have quite a few different property owners and representatives here tonight, and so they've asked me to share a few comments, but if I miss anything, they're more than welcome to step up and state their thoughts and share their feelings with you. This is the second area that was looked at, and the Planning Commission recommendation made a change just to section 5 and section 7. As shown is, those were the only 2 changes from what was taken from the DRC to the Planning Commission. Section 1 is a change from I-1 to BP Business Park. It's kind of adjacent to the areas around the hospital and some of the areas that are controlled by IHC. Section 2, the property owner, Austin Prickett, is here tonight. He'd love to speak to that in just a second. Has some discomfort with it going from I-1 to RR. This property also has a current application for a general plan amendment. He's looking to potentially do urban density residential, a higher density housing project. And so I'll let him speak to that. The Planning Commission recommendation was go to the RR. Number 3 was to the public facility zone, no concerns from the Planning Commission there, as well as section 4, which is over the remainder of the city landfill and the solar farm. Now, section 5 initially came all the way to section 6. If we jump to the next slide, this was provided by the property owner who's here tonight. They voiced some concern as far as taking the entire property as well as some of the property to the south that's under a separate ownership and changing that to business park. The DRC talked through with the applicant some concerns about an earlier concept where it had a larger office warehouse flex option on it. One of the main concerns listed was traffic and potential truck counts. Some felt might be higher than some of the other businesses in the area generate. And then this was a concept that the applicant brought in kind of to split the baby kind of halfway. office on the front, office warehouse on the back. So if we go back a slide, the planning commission liked that, and their recommendation is just to change the front portion only from I-1 to Business Park. They feel it's important to have some type of office presence there visible from the street. And they feel that there's gonna be a need for that type of use in the facility, but they recognize that there's also a demand, and there may not be as much of a demand for office on the back. 6 is kind of an odd piece. The property description, I believe, is included in 8. It's adjacent to this other property that's zoned rural residential. My understanding is we've got some applications that are in the process, being submitted to potentially do some more housing here. The Planning Commission did make a recommendation to deny this change here for Area 7. I believe we have a couple of businesses here tonight to speak to that. Their concerns were similar to the Ericksons, and so as City Manager Seth Perrins mentioned, there's kind of a balance. Do we look at what potential uses might be there in the future, or do we look at what the existing uses are now? Planning Commission in this case recommended to allow it to remain I-1 instead of changing it to C2. The reason for the C2 was potentially expanding the C2 zoning that's on the old Anderson wrecking yard. And then Section 8, Planning Commission recommended changing that to C2 just based on its proximity and being on the corner of a state route as well as an important connection between Highway 6 and that state route. Let me see if I addressed all the ones. Yeah. Any questions for staff at this time?
So we got multiple owners here that want to talk about their particular zone. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and I believe some of them, for instance, in Section 7, are supportive of no change. I know Austin with Section 2 is interested in not having his changed. And then I believe Dave is comfortable with the changes to Section 5, but I'll let him speak to that.
Okay, so most everybody's okay with the zone except Zone 2, is that correct?
2 and 7.
Yeah,
You're
I'll explain why.
Yeah,
I believe so.
okay, so,
But 7 is recommended to leave as is, so I don't,
okay.
we'll let them.
All right, so what I'll do, let's do this. Those that are okay with what we're doing, we won't let you, or you can talk in your public comments or public meeting, but let's bring up those owners of those others too.
Okay.
So you're Zone 7?
2.
2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're up then. Come on up, state your name, and
Okay.
we'll give you a few minutes.
All right, Austin Pritchett. So we had already submitted a general plan amendment before this thing got rolling, or at least we knew about it, for the R4 urban residential, in the hopes of one day using the TDR program if approved. And so we also own one, and we own some more light industrial above there. But on that piece there, where it's kind of between two really heavy commercial areas, where you got the Meadows, then you're gonna have the new exit coming in, it's just a perfect place for higher density residential where there's not gonna be neighbors with views blocked, there's not gonna be anything bad going about that way. And the value of a light industrial piece of ground is much, much, much higher than a rural residential. And so we would rather just stay it for now until we're able to do our general plan amendment that we had already pushed into progress.
So you're in the process of moving this project forward right now? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah, we're already
So
underway.
You're not gonna wait?
So going from light industrial to rural residential back to an R4 just doesn't make any sense. We'd rather just keep it at light industrial for now, and then we'll push it along. You can see, I think Brandon has access to the application and everything, that we're already underway in doing that. So, and yeah, we own Section 1 as well. We're under contract with the hospital. Business Park is a good option there, and the light industrial, we're happy with everything else. But that one there, just, it doesn't make sense to change it and change it again, I don't think.
So
Does anybody have any questions?
just to be very, very clear, Austin, you are not proposing anything that would go into I-1. You're not proposing that use
So we already have an application for.
to make a change. Okay, I just want to make sure. Like, our fear is you come back and you say, hey, we want to put a cement plant there, and because it's zone
I know
R1,
that's
you
the
get
fear,
to.
yeah. I know
Right.
that's why this all was kind of commenced, at least our piece was included, is that's a big enough piece to do some crazy thing, right?
Right.
In I-1. So, yeah, no, we have already submitted that general plan application and we intend on going through with it. It just doesn't make sense to change it from a high value to a low, back to a high.
If we change it today, you wouldn't do anything different, though. You continue the process, correct?
Yeah, but if we got denied in the future, of our future zone, we'd rather have a high value piece of property than a low.
I got you.
So it just, it's really, really not advantageous to us to change it to rural.
Gotcha.
Okay. So,
And did I hear you say that you were interested in using TDRs if they're approved in the future?
yes, absolutely. That's our goal behind there, and we've been told that it would be a great receiving area because, again, there's not a lot of neighbors down there, and we have hopes of doing a lot more down there on the backside and bringing a road through that kind of helps the borders and all that sort of stuff. So that's all in the future, though. But yeah, we would rather just leave it as I-1 for now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And you're zone 7, correct? Or what zone are you? 5. Come on out.
Are there any questions you have? Well, I'm happy with this change. I can give you my 25-year history, but
You're okay with that?
yeah, we proposed it.
Yeah.
Oh, David Schiess, sorry, Schiess.
Perfect.
We
Well,
owned
if
that
you're okay
property
with
since
it, then-
'96. We've been through 2 zone changes. And we gave up a piece of land so that you can have your wonderful Lowe's.
That's what I like about you.
Uh,
I knew there was
We
some reason
regret
I
it
liked you.
now,
Yeah.
because now we're looking at their garden center as our, out the front door, whatever we build, and it's not
Perfect.
pretty. But if you're happy
Okay.
with this, I'll sit down.
So David,
Okay,
you're
we're-
comfortable having 2 different zones on one piece of property?
We proposed that. We
Okay.
wanted one, they wanted another. We proposed that this would work.
Okay. All right.
And we'll go from there.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. You must be 7. There, I knew I'd get to 7.
Joey Carlson. Yeah, we're in 7. I guess I would like to keep it that way. I own a little restoration shop there.
Right.
And from kind of what I understand is that the property, everything would have to, I'd be grandfathered, but everything would stop. We couldn't change anything. And I'd like to fix up the building. It's a little less than an acre. I have 12 employees, you know, and we're growing out of the building, so it's not like I could build anything super huge anyways, but a couple more bays would be nice. Yeah, you know, we've taken a few kids out of the high school and actually work for us now and are employees. So, yeah, we're looking to, you know, stay and grow, you know.
So you're comfortable with that denial there?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Anybody else? I like it.
My name's Matt Daly. I'm in 7-2, and same concept with him. If you guys switch it, then I can't grow. I have to stay where I'm at, and I'm 7 employees, and I'd probably like to grow. So I'd like to deny it.
Okay, perfect.
I'm Juan Martinez, and I'm actually an owner on number 7 as well. I just bought the property like a month ago, and then I found out they're changing the zone. So yeah, we intend to grow the business, that it was in place, and we like to remodel and add more offices and you know, make a bigger building for our shop. So yeah, I will like to deny it as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I like it. God, the planning commission did a good job there. That's good.
It's messy, but good, huh?
All right. Since we've had all the property owners speak now about this, so now let's go into our public hearing on this.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Second. Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public like to come and talk about all these properties? You're welcome. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Argyle, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I knew you.
Oh, yeah.
On 7, I respect what the gentleman had to say today, and I understand that. I think it's there's not enough information for me to weigh in either way at this point. it feels like we're lumping that in with a broader decision, and it's going to take more detailed understanding what's happening out there and what do we want it to do in the future. I like the fact that they want to expand, but can they expand under C2? It looks way more consistent if it was C2 than I1. I1 doesn't make sense there for me, but I support the denial tonight because we just don't have enough information to make a change like that. And I don't want to impact these gentlemen without having more information at hand. So that's my opinion on that one. Two, I don't know, I understand what Mr. Pritchett wants to do. It is way more comfortable with a application in hand. We don't want it to be I1, right? I would not want to see an I1 application come in here and then we make a switch. I think that is a risk that makes me nervous not making this move tonight. Not that you're going to do it, I understand that you're not going to, but if you were denied an R4, you could come back and put an I1 in there, and that makes me nervous. Now I'm going to get scolded.
Not at all. No, I just want to add to something you're saying. I think Mr. Pritchett's comment is very valid. I also think that what he's proposing is exactly what we would expect him to do. And so as he's considering doing something different, right, he's going through a general plan change and saying we want to do an R4. As a legislative body, you have the purview to say this is what we want for the area. And his comments or his concern of the I1 or I1 zone is more valuable to market potentially if the R4 general plan change is denied. I would imagine, and probably I would say I would hope, that his future use, if it's not R4, is something other than I1, which would then require either a general plan or a zone change request as well. So I don't know that we would actually hurt their property use in the future because your desire is that it not be I1. And their desire is that it be something other than I1 as well. If that, whatever they propose, isn't in the end what you like, I don't know that it won't be, right? We haven't got there yet, but that's his concern. If what he proposes isn't something you like and they have to go to something else, you don't want it to be I1, and so that something else would be something other than I1. And the holding zone really is just that. And their future value of the land, I don't think is, as I understand land sales, they've got a couple of land guys over here and probably in the whole building, but it's really not what it's zoned today is what is its potential. And so thinking that long-term view, I think that's the concern that started this conversation, not only about that area, but about all these areas. And I think we can mitigate the concerns that he has, which I'm so grateful that he's expressing. And I don't think we take lightly, but I think we can mitigate those through what future conversations and future proposals that they have, starting first of all with whatever they're looking at doing here shortly, or at least looking at proposing shortly. I just wanted to add that thought.
And I would just say, Shane, if there's an application in process, that's enough for me. And his good faith, knowing the applicant as well, I know him, sure. And then being willing to stand up in a public meeting and tell us is also, I think, a very valid.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to downplay your comments at all. I'm just merely saying, well, I do want to downplay them, but I won't. But you understand what I'm saying.
I get you, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe the other side of that is, if I'm the property owner that bought this and it was zoned that way when I bought it, you might have paid I2 money for that property. I don't know, it's a contract between the buyer and seller, whoever they bought it from. So I'm not apt as the legislative body to maybe jump in the middle of that while something's in process of saying, if I'm the applicant that bought it with I2 and knowing that I'm gonna try to do something different, then, now legislative body saying, nope, it's not I2 anymore, even though you paid that money for it. It's in process. I think they are working in good faith, and I hope we have a ton of TDRs to sell you to get to some homes there. I think it'd be a really great spot.
All right. Did we go out of, we did, we went out of public hearing there. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? If seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
This one's gonna be a.
And you just follow the.
Oh, come on.
Almost have to go one by
I
one.
move to approve ordinance 21-21, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for the North Spanish Fork Parkway area zone change based on staff's findings, and that we deny any change in Area 2, and we deny any change in Area 7.
Ooh, Brandon, good job. I'll second that.
Was that?
That was good.
The
But in
planning
the
commission
first-
recommended denial in 7, so we're
I
granting.
just wanted to confirm that.
Gotcha.
Granted,
Okay.
yeah, just wanted-
You look first time, you know.
I don't, they
Okay,
don't
just
have to,
checking.
but if they want to stand flat, they can.
All right, we got a motion by Councilman Gordon, and second by Councilmember Beck. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Marshall.
Aye.
Okay.
We put seven decisions under one
Yeah,
motion.
talk to Brandon. You know, since Dave isn't here, we're gonna blame Brandon. All right, ordinance Z 22-21, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork for the Sky Meadow zone.
We made this one,
Look at that. Chad thought it was 8:15. That's
Hey,
why.
thank you.
we made it a little easier. The next 3 items are the same project, but we've got them split, packaged up, 3 separate motions. Hopefully that helps. We can start with a video. Either link works, YouTube or through Google.
We'll see. Is there any sound?
No sound.
Great.
This area is the old Fritzy site, still currently occupied. City Council previously took some action to rezone it to RR in anticipation of it redeveloping. Kind of get that underway. This is the fly-through from the applicant. You're looking at Main Street on the left. These would be some condos, 4-story, that would sit in the lower area. And then if you pause it right here, or there, pause.
Well, there you go. There you
Pay
go.
attention.
Way to be on the button there, Nick. You must be an official.
Oh, now we lost it.
We're back.
And there's good. Oh, the tree's in the way.
Okay.
All right.
Now you're just a little bit more messy.
All right. What this shows, and I think it's a rather good design, is they utilize the elevation change, and they made those grade changes through the garage buildings and walls. And I'll let the applicant kind of speak further into that. Then if you can continue the video, excuse me, you can see we get to the upper part, higher elevation. There's Calpac, the existing homes and residences there, be largely townhomes. And then the furthest southwest part of the property, we just briefly looked at it, would be single-family lots. This is going to kind of fly through the layout of the interior park space. There's a couple clubhouses involved. You can see some alley-loaded townhomes and whatnot. Awesome. Let's go ahead and go back to the slides.
Wait, stop right there. Can you orient me a little bit? Just,
IFA right here.
Yep.
okay, all right. Main Street's up there. This is Arrowhead
Main
Trail.
Street.
And this is Calpac over here.
Here's the river, River Bottoms Trail.
Okay.
Calpac is here.
I got
So
you.
this is a little,
Oriented.
yeah, so currently it comes out like this. It would be realigned. Del Monte's over here. The Arrowhead Sunrock property is off this side of the screen.
And then the single family on the right.
This is the single family. Let's go ahead and exit out of this and go back to the slide deck if we can. Next slide. This is just an overall layout of the property, shows the potential phasing. It's key that we enter into the development agreement. That's one of the next items on the agenda, because it accommodates the existing building to maintain and remain until all the leases are up. I believe the details in the agreement are December of '23. So the first phase would be the single-family product here. Second phase would be the condos. This was recommended by the city, to the city council from the planning commission with an R19 zone. This is an R4, and this, the R4 comes here, but then the remainder would be R3 with C2 reserved here on the corner for future commercial use. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. This is the exhibit 4 of the zoning. You can see the applicant is leaving some density on the table with their proposal. They've got additional property across the street. Some of it would be reserved for future right-of-way. Others would be tied to open space for the project. Some of it would be retained by the applicant, and others potentially donated to the city for improvement and enhancement of this area. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. These are just some snippets from the video we just watched. I don't know if we need to go through these, but you can go, we can pause any of them if you'd like. If we go back one real fast. So one thing to note is the wall is shown in the incorrect position. The Planning Commission, one of the members, I can't remember who brought up, but questioned what the setbacks were, and this is kind of a little misleading because we'd have a curb, 12-foot park strip, 10-foot trail, 4-foot planter area, then this wall, and the proposal is instead of doing a solid wall, you'd have something semi-open, so you'd still have the safety of the barrier, but you wouldn't be completely walled off. And so whether it's something identical to this, or maybe it's something where the top halves are all wrought iron, something of that nature. Other things that were highlighted by the Planning Commission, if we go back a couple slides to the overall phasing plan that shows the layout. The applicant's done a great job as far as putting this together and looking at the city codes and making changes as requested. A big change that was appreciated by the DRC and the Planning Commission was the connection here, so that there'd be connectivity throughout the project. They have worked extensively with UDOT as far as the locations of the accesses that are shown here. Curveball that was kind of thrown their way at the Planning Commission relates to parking. And so some of the commissioners felt some of the existing projects around town are underparked. And so anytime you drive by, some of them have spillover parking onto the adjoining streets and whatnot. If you look at the R4 or the master plan development, our standard is 2.5 units per, or 2.5 stalls per unit. They made the recommendation that the condition bump that up to 2.8 parking stalls. Because Dave's not here, I'll show you my notes.
Wow.
He does not.
Wow.
He's probably watching, but he does.
You might want to put that in the archives.
Yeah. So, I took the liberty of just seeing how far off they might be, because in talking with the applicant, they were pretty close already to that. And so, in a nutshell, the only place that would be underparked with that 2.8 would be here. The houses are required to have a 2-car garage with a driveway that would accommodate 2. So there's no additional parking for that area. The townhomes, it's kind of hard to see, but they've got areas where they've added additional angled parking, or not angled parking, but perpendicular parking. And then at the ends of the alleyways, you can see, and that's to accommodate guest parking. And so each one of these townhomes has a 2-car garage. And if you look close, some of them are alley loaded here, while others are front loaded. So once again, the code gives a bonus. If you have a 2-car garage with a driveway that accommodates 2 and has a depth of at least 20 feet, then that 0.5 for the guest parking goes away, because potentially your guest could park in your driveway. And so the only area that was underparked, if you go with the recommended 2.8, would be the condos area. And just depending on how you interpret the code, I didn't have the luxury of bouncing it off Dave, but I appreciate Kimberly double checking my math today. Wasn't my strong suit in college, but she's good at it.
considering where you're from. He's a red dot.
That's fine.
I currently reside in the city to the north. I actually grew up further south, but Washington County has struggles as well with education, so. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. And probably doesn't help that I grew up in California before.
Yeah, you didn't have to mention that.
You were saying how Kim did your math before.
Yes, she double checked it.
Double check.
So 2.8, you've got 128 townhomes. That's 359 parking stalls. They currently have 322, so you're short a little bit. The code does give the option to where you can do shared parking. So the phase 3 is commercial. I don't know if there's any finalized plans for the uses that are there, if they're going to occupy the entirety of the space, but one option, well, let me take a step back. There's always the option of reducing units, but I haven't even spoken to the applicant. I'd assume that's not the most desirable way forward, given that the redevelopment of the property does have some considerable expense to it. So the first option is the city code does allow for shared parking. We'd accommodate that through an easement. It'd be a recorded easement. It'd be identifying which stalls. So for instance, just bear with me, if this were to be a gas station and maybe a few stores, if there was additional parking here, it's in proximity to this, that could be earmarked above and beyond the requirements for the gas station and the stores, then those could be applicants for the shared parking to accommodate that 2.8. If you don't go with the 2.8, the site actually parks rather well. The only areas where it's a little tight is the city code also has some proximity. So if we require, let's say, 5 stalls here for guests and the next available stall is over here, you know, have to be within 200 feet to kind of meet the intent of the code. So if you go with the 2.5, in my opinion, it's parked rather well. If you go with the 2.8, we would just need to get creative with the condos.
Brandon, the code, our city code says 2.5, 2.4, 2.1.
2.5.
Okay, and they meet that?
They meet that.
Okay, so the planning commission is recommending going above our code?
Yes, and their concern and their reasoning is based on the performance of other developments utilizing the 2.5 in their indication. And we did an analysis with, I think it was with Del Monte. We looked at Somerset, we looked at a number of other existing developments around town and just did the math and kind of did some informal visits to see where people are parking and when. And another option that we can consider, and currently the code doesn't allow, oh, the mayor's checking his watch, I'll speed it up. Currently the code doesn't allow is on-street parking. So currently the codes do not allow any available on-street parking to be counted towards your parking calculations. But what we have done in the past to help you feel more comfortable with the available parking is they can provide a parking plan. So for instance, this unit here, 49, is 48 feet in depth, and so potentially you could get 2 on-street parking stalls here. All of these are rear-loaded townhomes, so potentially you could have all of this on-street parking here and throughout the development. So that's one thing to consider as you look in your decision-making tonight. The other thing that the Planning Commission asked for, which has been pretty straightforward with a number of developments recently, is providing a street tree plan for the single-family homes. So anytime you have multifamily product, we do have a landscaping requirement that requires everything to be spelled out as far as where the street trees are, what type of vegetation's in the park strip. And so recently with single-family projects, most recently with the Swift Creek out there by Quiet Valley, the applicant's been asked to provide a street tree plan. And in this case, the idea is to provide at least 2 street trees per lot, depending on how the homes get sited or if it's a corner lot. It may not be exactly uniform every 30 feet, but our goal is to try and get a uniform street tree plan in place. And so that's condition number 5 that was also added. So once again, the request is going from the RR for the entirety of the property to the R4, R3, R19, and the C2 for the portion west of Main Street.
Wow.
Any questions?
No wonder Dave left. That's good.
The most important development we've had for a while, and he's gone.
Yeah.
No big deal.
But Brandon, you're nailing it.
You
What's
did
that?
good.
You're nailing it.
Did
Oh, thank you.
fantastic.
Definitely. So, maybe what we'll do, the same thing we did on the previous, we'll go into a public hearing, listen to the public hearing, and then we'll let the developers, are you okay with that? Okay.
We have a few residents that came to the planning commission. I don't see them here tonight. Maybe the applicants can back me up if I'm remembering this correctly, but most of the comments, we did hold a neighborhood meeting for this project, and so some of the questions and issues with the actual project itself will work through and information shared, but I think most of the comments presented to the planning commission, our chair is here tonight, related to what would happen with their current uses on the property, whether their property zoning would change, whether their ability to have animal rights would go away. And our message to them was there's no change proposed.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go in public hearing and turn the heat up.
Jeez.
Second.
Wow. Okay, good motion by Councilman Argel, a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not too much.
You didn't hear the motion.
Yeah.
Tyler got it.
All right, if there's anyone in the public that'd like to come up and address this zone change, you're welcome to come on up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, let's have you come and state your name and tell us a little bit what you got going there.
My name is Paul Washburn. I'm here representing Rimrock Construction tonight on the project. First of all, I want to thank the staff. They've been very helpful in putting this project together. It is a complicated project, to say the least. As you look at the map here, we've got one elevation level between Del Monte Road. As we fall down into the existing parking lot of Habitat facility and the others. We drop down and there's an elevation change. Some places as high as 10 feet. As we get down here closer to the other houses, not quite that much. We have a number of structures, and these are big structures, and they're going to be expensive to demolish and take away. And then this area here, we go from at this level where the current Calpac Avenue is down to Main Street. From here to here, there's only about a 15-foot fall, but it doesn't take into account that this property here falls another 10 feet below Main Street. We're going to be filling this property with fill, and it's going to be probably about 25 feet of fill throughout the property. It's not as easy as come into the dump truck and dump it. You bring in the material, you spread it out. First of all, you have to remove all the vegetation. You go in and you do it in 9-inch lifts, compact it, have it all proctored by a geologist come in, make sure everything's been done correctly, then you go 9 more inches. It takes a long time and it's an expensive process. Demolition is going to be an expensive process. We are trying to work with the current tenants of the existing building. We hopefully can get some of them out early, but we do have leases that contractually obligate us to the end of '23. We'll do everything we can to get them moved out quicker. This will be our first phase. Single family will go first. The stacked flats down here will be second. Stacked flats are not going to be for sale product. This is going to be a rented product. We will have an on-site management, and one of the things we believe is going to help us with the parking is all the parking will be by permit. This isn't one where you're going to come in and bring 6 extra cars or whatever, and there will be accommodation if you have guests for temporary permits going through. So I don't know that I am nearly as worried about going to 2.8 as maybe the Planning Commission was, but we will provide all the parking we can, and I think there's no problem with creating an area for some shared parking if necessary. We're going to be removing and relocating some streets. I think it's gonna make the traffic flows work a lot better. It's, one of the questions that came up in planning commission is how you're gonna get people out onto the streets. Del Monte is currently has a light, we've got a light at State Street. I've been out there, both those lights do a very good job of platooning cars. Somebody may have to wait a minute or two if they're gonna make a left turn, but they're gonna be able to do it. It's much better in the areas I live in, Orem, where you can wait a long, long time on some of those streets. Spanish Fork's bad with two items.
Take care of people.
But it is gonna function, it's gonna function well. I think that, the only other question I remember that came up at Planning Commission was how we're gonna deal with fencing. The entire project will be fenced, everything that's adjacent to, you know, an existing neighbor. So I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Well, just one question, and as a kid, I did a lot of work out there on that Fritzie building. My dad built some of those buildings out there, and so, yeah, you're tearing down my building. What's your
I
story
feel the same
there?
way. So in my younger days, I probably laid, I'm gonna say probably 1,000 yards of floor coverings out there.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's,
I think everybody's got a story about the old Fritzie or Del Monte
Yeah, we had a
building.
lot of people.
Yeah.
So cannery to there was a sewing factory and all that other fun stuff out there. So, yeah, any other questions, comments from everybody?
I have a whole list of questions. So this is going to be the realignment of Calpac?
Correct.
So this is going to be a straight shot down to these,
Yeah, it goes down here, and
Existing-
then there's a hairpin turn in that location that comes
down
out.
into there.
Yeah,
And then, so is this out onto the highway and access?
that's correct. That goes
This,
in the
this
hi-
here
It
too?
also goes directly on the highway.
And just this one and then Del Monte on this side?
There will also be a right-in, right-out that goes, that services the commercial, but
Commercial property?
they would only be able to come out right. I think the most likely scenarios would be either come up, try to get to a light, or, you know, head onto Main Street. Again, with the light here, I think the opportunity for platooning, if somebody needs to make a left-hand turn, is gonna make it so it's pretty possible.
So the business is there, you say till 23? So you won't even start tearing the building down till the businesses,
We've got to wait until the leases are up.
till their leases are
It
up?
may be possible to do a beginning of demolition, but one of the concerns we've got to find a way to do it and make it safe.
Right.
Demolished buildings attract people, and we don't want to create a safety hazard as well.
That includes the water tanks existing?
That includes the water tanks, and if you know anybody who would like them, we would be glad to get them to you.
Are they empty?
Chad would.
I don't want them. I think Chris answered my questions about the water. So the property on the other side that's yours, you're gonna reserve that? I think he said for some of it's gonna be
Yeah,
green
if we go
space?
to the other slide that shows across the street. There, okay, this area right here is going to be set aside to the city directly, and that accommodate an extension of Arrowhead at some point in the future, I assume. The area here, running along the river, is going to be donated to the city for a park, and that'll be able to extend your trail system across there. And hopefully we'll be able to use it as an amenity for our project as well, as we're donating it, and give some additional open space. Done a pretty good job with open space through the project, though. We've got clubhouses located here and here, and we have amenities, the barbecues. Tried to be very careful in meeting every aspect of the ordinance.
So you own the property across Main Street too?
Yep, we do.
So
It'll be yours soon.
is that part of the development agreement then? That comes to us?
Yes, sir.
Jason's ready to get started.
Bruce, go ahead.
Oh, Bruce here?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Bruce Beard. I'm counsel for the project, and we worked on the development agreement. That parcel that Paul was just talking about a second ago is not part of the development agreement or the rezoning. There's some technical reasons regarding appraisals and donations and all the rest of it that it is not there. There's some discussions about what it'll be in the future, but we meet the open space, so that is not a part of this project at the moment.
The corner is.
The corner is, that's absolutely,
Yeah.
that is part of, in the development agreements, which you'll see next, that's called the road dedication parcel. But the other parcels are not part of this agreement.
Right now.
They're not part of this agreement right now. They're not part of the rezoning or part of
Talks just like a lawyer, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, just to be,
Paul and I are old friends, but
And I appreciate that. We need you guys like that to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Just want to overstate.
so Bruce, Paul, either one, I guess, the decision that we're making tonight does not include this specifically?
Correct.
Okay.
It does include, where's your
Right here.
yes, it includes that. It includes that portion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the other comments from the board.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a couple.
I figure you would.
Access, so you want 1, 2, 3, 4 accesses onto a UDOT facility. Is that right, Paul?
That's correct, yes.
Well, how are those conversations going? I know that in the next agenda item is a development agreement, and there's a paragraph in there that says if you don't get them, the city agrees to allow you the same number of units, however you reconfigure. I have a little bit concerned about that. If UDOT denies you, how it all gets realigned. So how are the conversations going with UDOT to get this many accesses?
What we've done is we've gone through and we've worked with the right-of-way people at UDOT, spent a lot of time with yourself, and with Doug Bassett. And we've gone through and we've analyzed what the standard is for these, and these all either meet or exceed the spacing standards. Some of this is which comes first, the chicken or the egg? And we've been advised we need to get the preliminary plat done first before we then get a final approval from UDOT.
Right, okay.
But at any rate, the CalPAC comes here, it's gonna be located here. We do have the spacing required between it and Del Monte Road. We actually had enough room for maybe a right in and out in between, but we decided to drop that.
Okay.
The right in, right out here, there's actually one currently in place right here. Our intent is just to slide it to the east.
Okay. The one on Main, is that right in right, or is that full access?
It's full access, it meets your requirement for
And
full access.
it's far enough away from,
Yes, yeah, we're 550 feet.
okay. If you have the distance, I'm good, okay.
But this is another, sorry, a couple questions. This is another access here on the main street?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not right in, right out? It is,
No, it would
it's
be
full
full
movement?
access.
Yeah,
Again,
full
we're well
access,
over
sorry.
550 feet. Should UDOT determine that we need to make that a right in, right out, we certainly can.
Without any modifications?
Right.
Okay.
And we have provided UDOT about a 400-page traffic impact statement that took in full account, actually more units than we ended up with on the project when we finally met all the standards that the city had. So I think we're gonna be okay, but again, this is
It's a chicken and egg, I understand. I'm just curious about how the conversation is going. If you have the distance, that's fine.
We've got the distance.
Okay.
My last question, parking, I know some of our other places where we're concerned about parking, especially in higher density developments, is because they spill onto roads
Yeah.
that people drive on. Is there any ability to park vehicles on Arrowhead?
I don't think there is. In addition to that, there is going to be a fencing all the way along here. I mean, obviously not where the road comes in, but I think it'd be a highly undesirable place to park. Again, we have met or exceeded the 2.8 that the staff has asked for in this area, and we've actually looked at it. We can probably squeeze a couple of more stalls in a couple of areas where we've either got them or could add them. I think we could add more here, probably in that location. The best way to keep parking off the street is make it more convenient to park inside than outside, and that's what we're endeavoring to do.
I agree, but my comfortability level would go up if this was being able to be a red curb here. And I mean, I can speak for the council in the emails we get about parking. Most of them are in developments like this, and there's 9 vehicles at a house where people can't own those many vehicles in developments like this. So I appreciate you paying attention to that. I think keeping them off our main roads is...
I think as far as striping goes, that's probably going to be a UDOT decision. If they decide they want to stripe it, I'm glad to buy the gallon of paint to do it.
It depends on the road.
Just wanna,
Yeah.
he's gonna keep you on the straight and narrow
Okay.
again.
No, I'm not talking about something, I just want to, I know it's going to come up on the next issue, but Mr. Marshall raised it on this one. it didn't quite say what you indicated.
Okay.
What it says is, if UDOT doesn't approve, then the parties will work together to try to reconfigure it. And if we can't, then there's a mediation arbitration provision for the dispute resolution. So
Okay.
it's not an automatic guaranteed right to keep the same number of units if the parking doesn't work.
Thank you.
Because we were very careful about that. Vaughn did a great job of protecting your interests on that, because we knew that it wouldn't fly to have just pure unilateral ability to reduce it.
Okay.
And that's why I was like, I don't think that's what it said. But you're pretty good usually, so.
Well, I make it up most of the time, so I appreciate that, Bruce. I know, that's my concern.
With the end of 23 maybe being as soon as you can possibly demolish those buildings, do you have to come back to renew approval that we have for this annually until we get there, or is this?
I don't think so.
Potentially not, so the preliminary plat would be good for 2 years on its own, and subsequently, every time you approve a final plat, it gives it a year extension, so you have.
By doing phase one,
As long as
During
they're
phase
developing.
one, you then
just
buy
buy you
another
3
year.
years.
If I may, while I'm up here, Councilmember-elect Kevin Euler, Commission Chair, reminded me that there was an issue discussed at the Planning Commission that I think engineering indicated was in one of the red lines, but there's an existing ditch that runs along here, and I believe it ends up, the tailwater ends, or the last service is here, and currently the tailwater kind of spills out into the field. So if you feel inclined that you need that as a specific condition stated, I didn't include it in the conditions, it wasn't made part of the recommendation. I believe the conversation kind of went down the line of the engineering was currently in discussions with the applicant on that. And then just to also highlight, if you look at the conditions, I think we've got it written up that these would apply with the zone change, but we are expecting additional details on some of the things like the fencing plan and the safety plan as far as the ditches go.
Brandon, the ditch was a part of the red lines, wasn't it? Still in the engineering red lines?
I believe so, and so I don't think that's why it was a separate condition listed.
Yeah, so we can capture that in the red lines.
Yeah.
The ditch is clearly our problem, we're gonna take care of it.
Right. Any other questions?
Just, is that a possibility, Chris, that these two property owners could hook to our PI for their 3 or 4 acres rather than a ditch?
Yeah.
Just an option.
Let me address that if I can. One of the improvements we're having to do is we're gonna be boring under Main Street and bringing in, looping the pressurized irrigation here. There may be a possibility they maybe would rather switch over to the PI line, and we're gonna explore that. Obviously, we don't wanna do any more piping than we have to, but we're the property owners, that's our obligation, so we take care of it.
Any other questions or comments or editorials?
I don't know for Paul, but just,
Because this is just for the zone change. We're gonna do the preliminary plat next, right?
yeah,
And you'll have more then, right?
no.
Oh, what?
I'm going to be very quiet. Bruce already answered my question on the next one. Just overall, thank you for this. I think this is what the city needs. I love that we're putting a higher density. It has direct access to a main road, doesn't go through any neighborhoods. I can't say enough good things about this. I like this. I don't like the fact that the planning commission is changing the rules on a developer midstream. If we want a 2.8 units per, or parking stalls, let's put it in code and enforce it. I don't like a legislative body picking and choosing when we're gonna enforce something when we're not. So I would go back to the 2.5, that's in code. If we want it to change, great. If the developer wants to add more, thank you for that, we'd appreciate it. But I don't know that that needs to be standard. And that goes for the trees as well. I like the idea of putting the trees in the single-family units, but let's put that in the standard and not just arbitrarily put that in when we feel like it.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Anything else?
You did good. Thank you.
I think the trees are in that, speaking from having to put 2 trees in front of my house.
That was just
It's
you.
part of it.
That was just you. They knew who you were.
You didn't dig the hole. You didn't dig the hole.
I'll let the record show.
All right.
Good point.
I would entertain a motion.
He said that about you.
kids. I'll do it. I move to approve ordinance, I need my glasses, Z 2221, changing the zoning designation, amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork for the Sky Meadows zone change based on the findings of the staff report, with the exception of the the planning commission recommended 2.8 parking spaces per unit. I want to move that back to 2.5.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Marshall, a second by Councilman Gordon. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
No.
Councilman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Passes. All right, thank you. Appreciate all your work, and we'll move on. Ordinance 24. Oh, Vaughn, come on up. I like it.
I try to be quick.
I know you will.
But it's the same issue. This is the development agreement. Now that we have the zone change in place, the agreement will govern the development of the property. The development agreement has mostly, as you can see, it's laid out, there's boilerplate provisions that are in most development agreements for the main body of the agreement. And then we deal with project-specific issues and concerns in an addendum. So all the specific things that you're going to want to see are in the addendum 1. One of the major things is that the agreement terminates any existing prior agreements with the prior owner. And that's been an ongoing concern, so we're trying to be extra careful with that. There are 2 provisions in the agreement where it recites that those agreements are terminated. And I received another agreement tonight from the owner asking for just an explicit termination of those existing agreements of the prior owner. This new development agreement will replace those prior agreements. Also, no new leases or extensions, that was mentioned before, goes through the end of 2023. You know, the agreement addresses replatting the development. There's an existing subdivision plat there now. This plat would amend that existing plat and it realign the Calpac Road. There's an existing city well that will be capped by the developer, and utilities will be run to a new telemetry site to help assist in reading the meters that will be abundant in this project. And once that well is capped and the utilities are run to the new site, the city will convey, there's the well parcel, and there's 3 other minor parcels to the developer to be included into their project. And then we discussed earlier, there's the parcel across on the east side of Main Street, which will be for future road extension. They mentioned that this sewer study is ongoing, how to sewer the site, and that the ditch behind the single-family homes needs to be piped. Also, this is, I think, important that it allows the city to make minor changes to the development agreement, to cooperate together with them for further assurances and get documents signed to carry out the purpose and intent of the agreement. And finally, just some exhibits need to be updated. We're working quite rapidly to get the agreement put together. We have exhibits, but they need to be fleshed out a little bit more. The townhome elevations needed to be expanded more. The master plan of the site could be detailed out a little bit better as well. So I recommend that you approve the development agreement, finding that it complies with the general plan and the newly adopted zoning, but subject to the conditions that the exhibits be updated and provided, specifically the master plan and the townhome elevations. Any questions about the development agreement?
Any questions? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
I don't know if this is the appropriate place to do it, but I'm okay with the parking going down to 0.3 spaces that it did. I would like some language in here to pursue the on-street parking not being allowed on Arrowhead or Main Street.
Is that in the final plat? Because I also have some concerns about parking. These folks in the townhomes are going to park in the residential. If I got a camper, I might park my camper here before I use it on the weekend, and so on and so forth. So we've seen that obviously a lot throughout town, and so just whether it's in the final plat or what, but I agree with Mike, not to cut you off, but just
Well,
to add
I'm not as
on.
worried, I mean, down in this area where you're renting, you're leasing these, right? And so we're permit parking down here.
That's correct.
You're gonna take care of your problem down here
That's correct.
where we might be concerned with it.
Right.
Here you're meeting parking requirements, and if it happens for very much, very too long in front of 9, I'm gonna call the cops. But what I don't wanna do is if it is a parking problem, your residents are gonna wanna fix it, you're gonna fix it here. I don't wanna be the city fixing it on our public roads here and have 25 vehicles on each.
Nor do we. Yeah, and I think we have got a lot of additional parking in this townhouse area. I share the concern about, people parking up here and blocking somebody else's driveway. I think by maybe adding a few stalls in this area and some things, let's make it more convenient to park on our space than somebody else's. And if we need to put some signage up to remind people that's not their driveway, we're glad to do that.
And we have that as part of the condition of the plat, or does that get sticky on the roads?
We appreciate
Put it
you,
on the side.
yeah,
Thanks, Paul.
being aware of that. Okay. Still looking for a motion on ordinance 2421.
I move to approve ordinance 2421, approving a master development agreement for Sky Meadows. That condition in there, or the next one, Vaughn?
I would do that with the preliminary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall,
Second.
second by Councilman Marshall. This is a roll call vote. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
No.
Okay. B, Sky Meadows. This proposal involves approving a preliminary plat for the master plan development located at approximately 1400 South Cowpack Avenue.
I move to approve Sky Meadows. This proposal involves approving a preliminary plat for master plan development located approximately 1400 South Cowpack Avenue. Proposal includes 323 homes and an area for future commercial uses as per staff findings and recommendations, plus the recommendation of no parking on Arrowhead and Main Street.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. Roll call vote, Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
No.
Okay.
Wait, before we move on, just to clarify that is, I agree with you, Mike, 100%. I want people parking here, but that's not the responsibility of the developer to make that happen, is it?
It's the city's road.
That's going to be us and UDOT.
Those are both state roads, yeah.
It's UDOT's road.
Okay. So we need to follow up.
Well, I want permission from UDOT to paint that red.
Go get it done, Chris.
I know somebody that knows somebody.
Have Bruce negotiate that for you.
Yeah, we might have a few people that might do that in the middle of the night.
We'll do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, let's go down to C. Leonard Home request to have setbacks reduced for townhome buildings. Go ahead.
I think BJ's a pretty nice guy, so I'm going to pick on him and say the fourth time is the charm. Sorry, I was overstepping my bounds. All right, let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, back one. All right, so I'll be brief. You've talked about this quite a few times. We appreciate BJ Ryan being here from Lennar.
Wait a minute, go ahead.
I think you just skipped to VJ. This is the,
No, we already know it.
Yep.
They presented it 3 times.
Did Dave present? I think a couple times he said he didn't, but we're looking here, I'll be really brief, there's just one point. Looking at, when you make the motion, just be very specific as to which ones we're reducing, because what's in the memo is different from what's on their latest plat. And so when we go to have the engineering firm update it, we just want to make sure they get it right. If you go to the next slide, next one. This is what was provided from the applicant. Lot 101's off the side here. There should have also been a memo from BJ that was provided to you that kind of spells out his reasoning and thought process behind it. And then there's also a presentation in board docs. All right, thank you.
thanks. Presentation just shows the elevations.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this?
So,
Let's just have BJ stand up.
Hmm?
Let's have BJ stand up.
Come on. Sorry.
Hello, everybody. BJ Ryan with Lennar. Our goal, our request is that we reduce the side yard setbacks on the interior lots. Our goal, as we moved through the process and got our approvals, we made some changes where lot 109 is. There was originally a private drive there. And the short of it, we had some changeover and maybe some misses on our part, and we didn't understand the setbacks. There was a misunderstanding that the 5 and 5 setback only applied to lots that were 50 feet or less. We then caught it as we worked through the community with Brandon. What I'm trying to demonstrate here is these are some pre-chosen homes for the community, and you can see starting with lot 101, we have a 3-car garage. We then go to a 2-car, then to a 3-car, back to a 2, and you can see as we move through the community. Some of these homes probably could be pushed back further. If you look in the knuckle, we probably could push those back further. The worry is, do we really, that we want to try and keep symmetry along the street? We have understood clearly that the backyards are a buffer between these homes and the existing community to the west. And so we really didn't want to push the houses back any further. And so while we could get probably the 5 and 10 on at least, for sure, 2 of those, and then lot 110 with some modification, we just felt that I think we had felt like we made a commitment to the neighbors to the west that we would try and keep full yards in a buffer, so we're not asking for any changes there. What we're asking for is a reduction from the 5 and 10 on the sides to 5 and 5. It does allow us to bring in a little bit different streetscape with some 3-car garages and then some 2 cars, so we mix it up. The 3rd car, and we'll talk about all the values we bring to it, they can help soften looking from the west through our community to the townhomes that are in the center. And we felt that we feel it allows us to bring a nice streetscape, nice size home to the community. We think that this home does a nice job of stepping from the west homes that are more expensive, step down a level to a house, and then to our townhome. The 3rd car garage is also, there was a lot of talk about tidiness and whatnot, and it does give us 4 more opportunities to have extra garages, extra parking, places to put, I don't know, razors, maybe a boat, things like that. So that is our request on lots 102 through 109, a reduction in the side yard setback. On lot 101 and lot 110, lot 101 is just a tough lot. It's now long and skinny, and we do not have access off of Wheatfield Drive, which is where the island is. We just felt a reduction in those front setbacks and rear setbacks would be helpful in order to be able to position a house and have it resemble and be more in character with the community that it will face. And then on...
BJ, before you go on from 101, can you explain how is the home plan to be oriented there?
On 101?
Yeah.
Use the other one. There you go. That's easier. Our expectation is that the driveway will come off of here onto this road.
nothing will come off here, and I think we actually agreed that it was prohibited that it will come off of here. But we may end up, most likely, I don't think that we'll develop this lot because I think the community in here is more individual, and I think that we will end up selling this lot off to somebody who can build a home that blends in more with us here. We could envision a side load garage here, so come in here, turn here to the garage, and this would give room for the house.
And the setbacks you want there are what? A reduction in the back?
Yeah, we'd like a reduction in the back.
Okay, and what's behind it?
It would be one of our townhome buildings.
Oh, it's one of yours?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so reduction in the front, reduction in the back, and then the ability to do the sidecar. I don't think you're prohibiting us from doing this, but we think it'll be a side load
Okay.
garage.
Thank you.
Up here, 110, again, it's, we have the school over here, not contiguous with any other existing residential, so again, we'd like the reduction on the rear and the front here. These houses here, they could slide back further, but we just think the street looks better when there's some symmetry running there. And we feel, I think, look, if we can go back to the streetscape.
Go back one.
Yeah, one, please.
Forward.
Yes. And you can see, we're not asking, I mean, we are asking for the 5 and 5 for simplicity. But the fact is that we really can't, we can't achieve it on every lot. And you can see here would be more than 5 and 5. And again, we just don't feel pushing this house back and skewing it to try and force it to work. We don't think it looks great from the street, and our goal really is to give as much rear yard as a buffer to our community friends to the west.
So you're not asking to get closer to any existing home?
No.
No, doesn't it?
No, we'd like to keep the 25 at the rear for 102
To 109.
through 109, and we're asking for the front and rear reduction on 110, and then back over on 109.
Which don't border an existing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Hey, BJ, my questions, I'm okay with the 101 and 110. Is this just an example that like on the even lots would have 3 car garages and the odd lots would have 1? Or are you proposing that the buyers would, if they buy lot 102, they have to have a 3rd car garage?
What we are proposing is just as you see.
That home has to go there.
That home has to go there. This home will go there. So
Okay.
we already have them figured out, plotted.
Okay.
But yeah, and if it's helpful, we could put in some sort of writing format, the matrix, to back this up, so that you would know that what you are agreeing to 6 months down the road, it'll be longer than that by the time
And
we get built out.
how wide are the lots?
They vary, 60, I believe. Can we go one
So I
forward to
guess
the plat?
where I'm going with that is, what if you took a lot out and gave everyone the 3-car garage option and the setbacks that the city requests? I think that's what I would like to see, because I feel like when you presented everything, we approved it, and now I feel like you're coming at us saying, no, let's squish more onto the lots. So my proposal back at you would be, what about taking out a lot and then everything would fit?
I think we're a little bit far down the road because we've started construction. We probably, I think we're a little bit far down the road to do that. And while I agree that, we have already gone through a lot of coordinating with the city and everything, and while it didn't affect us so much, but there's already been a fair amount of at least in the seller's eyes, concessions about where he thought he was gonna be as far as density, and where he ended up. Because of where I stepped into the project, I can't speak really clearly on everything, but I think when we got rid of the private drive there, which had a couple houses on it, I think that's where our challenges started.
And if we don't approve it, you will just put a smaller home that would not allow room for a third car garage.
If you don't approve it, I'm gonna say thank you for considering us, and we're gonna build what works within what the city will allow.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Questions that came to me, if you go back to the elevation page that you had there, the questions came to me from your neighbors were, these homes living on top of each other, just closer between, these two homes or these two homes, what, mitigants, if any, there are for that. And then a question, and I don't know if that's a completely valid question, that's people that buy this home knowing what they get. I have a 5-foot setback on one side of my house to my neighbor, and we're fine.
Yep.
But their other question was about runoff and containing. I know we talked about this in the initial approval and everything, but maybe just re-mention the runoff. This is more concrete to get into this, and less pervious surface, I guess. But again, you're required to maintain your own.
As we work through it with staff and listening to concerns from the neighbor to the west, we talked about the backyards. We talked about controlling water, making sure that things pitched forward to the curb. So, and I believe what we left as an agreement was that when it came time to come in for permitting, we would work with planning, zoning, and the building department to ensure that we met the expectation that was set. You are correct that potentially, depending how we flip the houses, this could be 10 and this could be 5. And as you can see here, yes, this is an artistic rendition, but it is based on actual, this is the actual footprint of the home. So this isn't 10, but it's probably 8. And I do believe that we can still work together and push the water out to the street. There isn't going to be room here to put an RV pad or here. So I don't think we have to worry about a homeowner who comes in and pours an RV pad and maybe doesn't understand potentially what putting that RV pad there is going to do as far as obstruct the ability for the water to flow out to the street.
Which, to that point, I do like if I live back here and I'm looking the backyards of here from these nice homes back here, that I do like I'm looking at a house back here rather than a poured pad with maybe something on it, maybe broken down motorcycles, I don't know, but I'm looking at the back of a well-kept home.
Yeah, and this will probably change a little bit, but in theory, we're picking up a parking stall here. If we really want to talk about it, we could change when this started to angle. So on a third car, we should pick up 2 parking spaces, and let's see. Yeah, so we will pick up, what is that, another 8 spaces in there. It will be tidier. It will provide, I think they'll be nice looking from the backside to the people to the west. I think they'll also provide a nice screen. We do have some slides of the houses if you want to see what they look like.
They look good.
Okay.
I'm wondering if, I don't mind the idea of the 5-foot setback with the third car. Like, if you put the third car in, have a smaller setback. If you don't put the third car in, don't have a smaller setback.
Yeah, I feel like the adjustment's been good.
But that's not the case everywhere. I mean, you're not proposing that necessarily.
Say it again.
So I'm
Proposing that, just
Proposing
how
that right
it
there.
is.
That's what I'm saying.
That lot has to have
3 cars.
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah, what you, as we
That's it.
demonstrate it right there.
Is that what it is?
That's
So-
it. 102 has 3, 103 has 2, 104 has 3.
But he's saying
But,
that the.
so 105 has
It's all
2.
going there.
Right, I got it.
Yeah.
But 102, with this one, 105 has 2 cars,
2.
but it has a 5-foot setback.
Could we take away those 5-foot setbacks to
So-
them? If
No,
it's a
because then
two-car
106 only doesn't
That's up the
accomplish
other
it.
way.
If we were,
That makes sense.
on this particular lot, if we were to do as you said, Mr. Marshall, the only thing that would happen there is we would have a continuity challenge where we would bring in a house that is smaller and it doesn't look the same.
Gotcha.
It is possible, it's just one of these things.
It's
doesn't
just
look
one of
like
them,
the
right? It's
others.
105 is the only one, to Brandon's point, that has a 2-car garage and a 5-foot setback. Right?
They all have 5-foot setbacks,
The-
right?
This is stronger, this is stronger, this is stronger. You know, these two houses, again,
Right.
we could shove them back.
I don't want you to go back, so that makes sense there.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, these really are, that's 50 feet. So, we've got nice big backyards. So if we had to shove them back to try and help here with some of your thoughts, we could do that. You just sort of lose a little symmetry.
All right, good enough. Brandon,
Thank you for listening.
do that.
Thanks, BJ. I move to approve the Lanner Homes request to have the setbacks reduced for townhome buildings in the Escala Master Plan Development.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon,
Second.
second by Councilman Argal. Does this need to be a roll call vote, Vaughn?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
You can post.
All right, we're gonna take a pause right now. I'm gonna turn some time over to our city manager, the illustrious Seth Barrows.
Are you sure it's 9:15? Look at the clock. An hour ago, Jack goes, it's 8:15. Where did the time go?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In order to do what we're going to do now, I'm going to invite some friends to come in with me to council meeting.
She has a wagon.
She goes down Main Street all the time.
And we'll just have them come up. We'll invite her to come up.
Is this all your friends, Mayor?
I didn't see anybody else.
These are all
That's
his
amazing.
friends right
That's
here.
amazing.
Are they,
I only have one.
Tell them, come on in.
hey, cowboy?
Stacy, that sounded a lot like
There are
something
more
Meadows
friends
said.
coming.
He's rubbing off on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, get back there.
Hey.
What?
He's out. Oh, okay.
He was with us. Yeah, he's coming in with the darks.
Hey, you need to state your name for the record.
Okay. Cheryl Leifson, happy to be here. And I asked to be first so that I could get through and maybe not be teary-eyed. So, all right. Steve and I really want to express our appreciation to each and every one of you city council members serving the city of Spanish Fork. Sorry, I wrote it down so I wouldn't get nervous and forget something. You serve unselfishly for a small monthly stipend. Most of you have full-time jobs and young children or grandchildren that you care for. Many people would rather attack your stance on issues than educate themselves on what is best for the decision of the city because they see things just through their own eyes. You must make those tough decisions considering the voice of each citizen, yet keeping the vision for all. We love you. You are our heroes. Councilman Argyle, first of all, thank you for the words you said at the beginning of City Council. I do watch every week. Chad and Teresa, as I know you, I have watched council meetings to hear you report on the airport, risk management issues, the veterans, sumo, water, animal control, and more. You have a passion for Shop with a Cop. You are one of the most compassionate people I know. Steve and I both lost our mothers since he has been mayor, and I will never forget your immediate compassionate service to us. We love you. And Teresa. I get more than 3 minutes because I'm
Oh.
I'm taking ownership.
She's getting soft. You're getting soft.
I'll tell you. What do you do, fire me?
Run him out, run him out.
Councilman Gordon, or Brandon and Rachel, I have listened to you report on solid waste and our garbage contracts, the Chamber of Commerce, the Youth City Council, Mount Nebo Water, and I loved watching you MC Miss Spanish Fork in the pageants. You bring the shock factor to the group with your wit and your sense of humor, keeping us laughing and keeping things in perspective. And we love you. I don't know why I put names on them, they're basically all the same.
Thanks, Cheryl.
So far, so good. Councilman Mendenhall, Mike, Amber, and Jagger's here tonight, too. I have heard you report on the airport, Parks and Rec, the Chamber of Commerce, the senior citizens, the League of Cities. You have been Steve's mayor pro tem when needed. You always refer to me as Mrs. Mayor and constantly steer attention to others for praise and recognition. You serve with humility, and you will be a phenomenal mayor.
Thank you. It's all mine, Jagger.
Council Member Beck, Stacy, and Chris. I love the female perspective as you report on the library, the Chamber of Commerce, Miss Spanish Fork, the Youth City Council, and especially Fiesta Days. You have chosen committee members who have preserved the Fiesta Days traditions. You also represent special interests in the city through Studio Chatter. You give the best Christmas gift ever each year with a memory book because of your sentimental touch. And we love you. Thank you. And I know your daughter's here too. I mean, not your, Brandon's, I missed yours, sorry. Okay, Councilman Marshall, Shane and Carrie, and I know their daughter's here too, Elle. I just learned your name. Is it Estelle?
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean
Stella.
Stella. Okay, sorry, Stella. I wish I would have gotten to know the children a little better. Shane and Carrie, wow, I have enjoyed your questions at city council meetings. Others may not appreciate it, but for those who are watching, and we have those questions too, and we're going, wait, what does that mean? We are all getting more educated about how our city works. You report on the animal control issues, the airport, and the Arts Council, and you certainly keep us on our toes. I would also like to publicly express my appreciation to all of our city employees and volunteers. You go above and beyond the call of duty. We have the best police, fire, and ambulance crews who have been amazing to work with and always helped with my kindergarten tours. We have the best parks, trails, and recreation opportunities around. Our streets are beautifully maintained and decorated. Our golf course and event center are gorgeous. Our rodeo is top-notch. Spanish Fork 17 is a blessing to all of us for information and entertainment. All of our department heads and employees deserve a huge shout-out. thank you. Steve and I love all of you, and we want you to know that. And we have enjoyed our time serving with you. God bless you, everyone, and have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Cheryl. You're awesome. We love you. Hopefully, you'll hear that, I'm sure, a couple of times here, maybe in a moment, but we truly love you. You've been every bit as good as Mayor Leifson, and frankly, Mayor Leifson's top-notch. So that means you're right there with him, maybe even a step above, right, Mayor?
Way. Step above.
So we thank you so much for your kind heart. I've been in many different meetings through the years, and I've always wanted to start a talk by saying, aloha, and then you have to say, aloha. It's like the coolest thing ever, right? So, Jagger, could you come help me? What? No. Okay, Stella, would you?
Yep.
You will.
That's a good thing, if you went one more, there's no way.
Jagger, do you want to do something else? Okay, still no.
I just want to eat the candy.
What if he gets you this?
No, the mayor.
Stella.
You know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to put it on.
Jagger.
Oh, there you go. You
Nice.
can be white. Tell your dad. Thanks, Stella.
So we have a gift.
Oh, wow.
Going with them? We'll check you out of school, sweetheart.
We have as an elected official departs, we have the opportunity to give a gift to them, and we are not. We have not been able to fulfill one of the mayor's dreams, which has been to have a staff or a city meeting work session of some kind in Hawaii. It's always been on his to-do list, right? It's always, can we do this one in Hawaii? Or we go there. It's always been a dream. Obviously, he's joking, right? But as we considered a gift that we could give, we consulted with Mrs. Mayor, and something that they've always wanted to do was go to Hawaii on a cruise, and we aren't going to be able to pay for all of the cruise. Sorry. We have a budget, and you're just getting what the budget was. But we instead of some gift that may not be quite as special, we'd love to contribute all of that we could put toward that gift to your trip to Hawaii, which will make it like 1% less or something. I don't know what.
I'll pay for the coconut shrimp.
It's a one-way trip, man.
It is a one-way trip. But anyways, we're really excited about that. We've got this little gift basket that does have a few Hawaii-related items in it.
Wow.
We'll let you go through that. And of course, the pièce de résistance is the lei that you now have to wear for the rest of the meeting. So,
Yes.
and we've got another 2 hours.
Whoa.
But as I looked around the room before all of my friends joined, and then with all of my friends here, I thought it'd be kind of fun to embarrass the mayor for a moment or two. So there are some people in the room that you have appointed to positions, and nobody has to get up and say anything. But if any of those that you have appointed, Jesse, Kevin, served with, such as Rod, or anybody, they were certainly welcome to come up and say something. But I thought it would be certainly worthwhile to tell the world, maybe spotlight some of the things that Mayor has said through the years. Do you want to do your thing first?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let Brandon go first.
Sure.
Yeah. No.
He's got to go close to last.
Well, I don't want to steal any of his thunder, though.
That's okay. You won't. It'll actually probably help it.
Okay. Well, let's just start with this,
Like I
Brandon.
always said, it's not always about Brandon.
It's your world, I'm just a part of it.
Just a part of it.
Just a part of it.
That's in there.
Fair enough, right?
Fair enough.
Or do we need just the Reader's Digest version?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Off with their heads.
Or should it be sooner or later or just later? I don't remember that one, but I killed that one.
Yeah, you did, but it's okay.
I just wonder,
You could.
are there any hot dogs in the room or maybe T-shirts? Because pretty much we'll do anything for a T-shirt, right?
Darn right.
So anyways, nobody has to come up and say anything, but if any of you that would like to come up, you're certainly welcome to share some thoughts. At some point, Brandon, I'm sure, has something that he would like to say. But I think now would be an appropriate time to express any thoughts that you have about Mayor Leifson as we recognize him in this last council meeting. Dave Simpson, you guys are certainly welcome to participate. I know you're like, I just wanted to make it ahead of this, and I didn't quite get there. But you're here, so you can take full advantage.
And just for being here, we're going to move you up on the agenda, just so you know.
After this, but
Rod
anyways.
has to go. Rod has to go. Yeah, come on, Rod.
Oh, I don't know. Well, Rod's okay.
You look at your clock before Rob got up?
Oh, my gosh.
Couple quick stories. You know, when I went off the council, they gave me a trip to Chicago, Wrigley Field. Problem is, it cost me $10,000. I had to take my 5 boys and their wives with me. Steve is the eternal optimist, always positive. Likes to golf. We were out golfing one day, and he was having these issues going around the bottom 9, and finally we came to hole number 9, and he sliced the ball into the pond. And he proceeded to get up there and take his shoes and socks off, rolled up his pants, went in looking for the ball. I said, Steve, if you're out of golf balls, I'll loan you one. He says, no, I gotta have this ball. It's a lucky ball.
Lucky ball.
Anyway, I've enjoyed serving with you, Steve, and you've done a good job. And I like your style, especially the Reader's Digest version. Anyway, congratulations on
Thank you,
the
Rod.
job well done.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Mike will carry on just
He will.
like you.
He will.
You've been a good
It was an
example.
honor to serve with you.
You've been a good example to everybody you've served with. And I thank you for your service.
Donuts?
Kevin gonna say anything? Come on.
Oh, jeez.
I'll keep it short because I know that's what the mayor appreciates. But I will say this, if you think of Spanish Fork and what has happened in our city in the last 16 years, you picture what 16 years ago our city looked like, and to think that you have been a part of growing it and the decisions that have taken place. And there's a reason people love living in Spanish Fork. It's a great place to live, and you have been a major part of that in the decisions that you've made as mayor and as city council member over the past 16 years. And I'm grateful to you, I'm grateful to your wife, because I know it's a lot of time, a lot of effort that you've put into it. So thank you. We're going to miss you.
Thanks, Kev.
Mayor already has the look in his face, and the thing that he always says when I'd come up here is, "Oh, you again." One thing that Mayor said to me when he asked me to be on the planning commission was, "Remember that we work for the greatest citizens and people in the world." And he led that way and loves the community that he serves. Thank you for your service, and thank you for what you've done for our community.
Thank you.
My friend Steve. Known Steve since he was a little boy. Our parents were best friends. We went on vacations together. We did a lot of things together. He loves Spanish Fork like we old timers love Spanish Fork. We're like 5, 6 generation Spanish Forkers. It's our town. We love it. We love living here. We love raising our kids here. We're so thankful that most of our kids still live here, so we're really blessed. And you've done an awesome job in building this beautiful city that we love. So hope you can enjoy some free time, maybe, and have some good time. But you've done a wonderful job, and we really love and appreciate you.
Thank you, Ann.
Name? Oh, my name's Ann Dart. Thank you.
These comments will be in the minutes?
Wow. The legal over there.
You said anyone, right? Yeah. Okay.
No.
So, unlike Ann, I haven't known Steve or Mayor Leifson. I've never called you Steve, but Mayor Leifson since he was a little boy. I've only known him since he's been a grown man. And it's been a pleasure a privilege to actually learn so much from him. I asked my wife this afternoon at lunch, I said, what do you remember about Mayor Leifson? I was like, it's his last council meeting tonight. And she said, he's a jokester, he is always happy, and he makes everyone in the room feel important. And I can attest to that. I remember one specific time when we were having a hard time personally in life. My wife had just had some unfortunate news, and Mayor Leifson got wind of it, and the next morning he brought donuts in. And I know that's one of his favorite things, so to actually give that up and give it to me, that meant a lot. So just really been a privilege. I put together a little something about Mayor Leifson. You got it there. So this is by the numbers, kind of before and after. Will you show the picture before? This is like one of my favorite pictures of Mayor. Yeah, right here. So yeah, this is from one of Mayor's cameo appearances that we might get to watch later if we have time, right? So
Yeah, no.
one of the treasures of the trail. So just a little memento. If you want to put that, Cheryl, if you want to put that on the wall sometime, I'm happy to give you a poster.
No.
So by the numbers, 16 number of years that you've served the city of Spanish Fork, much longer than that, even before you were on council, but as far as on council and as the mayor, look at the budget there, about 36 million at the beginning of your service, now about 172 million. 72 rodeos, 548,000 rodeo tickets sold during your service. One mayoral decree that Seth will never forget. Pride and Progress. So 3, and I could have that number wrong. City versus City Golf Tournament Championships. Is it?
10.
Is it like 10? You've won, okay. You've won a few majors.
However many he's played in.
Yeah. 148 benefited city employees at hire, now 239. 1,500 happy birthday phone calls to employees.
I thought I was the only one.
That's helping everybody feel special. There's the population, about 27,000. Now we're at about 42,000. You've gone through 2 city managers. That's a terrible way to put it.
Yeah.
Gone through.
Off with their head.
It hurts.
One supportive wife at the beginning and now, and most importantly, at the end of the service, right? One man who's worked his heart out for his community, one Mayor Steve Leifson, and one huge thank you for changing my life and my family. So thanks, Mayor.
No, we don't need to keep showing.
No, let's leave that up.
That was back before I started walking on the trail.
Do you want to share yours?
Well, I think the ladies have some.
Oh, do you? Yeah, keep going. Let me not interrupt. Stella, you have more?
The girls. Rachel, are you in the middle of a Toon Blast game, or? Put your phone down and maybe be engaged in the meeting. Honey. It's Steve. You're honoring Steve. I'm sorry for our fight, Mayor.
Well,
I know you're going to go home and fight over Cheryl saying that she likes Shane's question.
That is the best thing ever.
So many more.
Thank you.
We love Steve. We're going to talk about your wonderful, amazing wife for a few minutes. If you guys want to stand up here with me or no?
Yeah.
Chris. I know you're
Chris isn't scared. Rachel, Gary.
Come on. just stand by me. So I have
And
some
I think
support.
Ann's part of that group.
Yes.
You're gonna get,
They're
are you looking to not make it out of this building or what?
husband, right?
I just want to take a few minutes and speak on behalf of everyone up here, I'm sure. I took some notes because I get nervous. But we just want to tell Cheryl, the First Lady of Spanish Fork, and I'm a crier, and I love this woman, how much we love her, and how much we appreciate her, and we're going to miss you. I'm going to miss seeing you. The last 8 years of Mike being on City Council, she's kind of been my comfort because she's at everything. So when I show up, a lot of times Mike leaves because he's talking, so I don't see him the rest of the night. And she's always in the middle of the room with her hand up waving, saying, I have a seat saved for you. And a big hug and a big smile every time I see her, and I am going to miss that so much. Another part of City Council for Mike and I that is my favorite are the relationships that we have formed with everyone. And Steve and Cheryl have become family to us, and we adore you guys. The love, the one thing that I have noticed more than anything is the love that these two have for each other. They adore each other. When Steve talks about Cheryl, he lights up. And when Cheryl talks about Steve, she lights up. I always tell Mike they're couple goals. I'm like, when we get their age, I want to be like Steve and Cheryl. They are so dang cute. They're always holding hands. They take care of each other. They're supporting each other. I mean, she supports him through and through. And I just think that is so awesome, and it's been amazing to witness that the last 8 years. This city is, the love that you have for this city also, Cheryl and Steve, but Cheryl, you just love this city so much, and it's contagious how much you love it. I just feel so lucky and blessed that I have had you as an example. And I know the city of Spanish Fork is so blessed because of you and the love and the service that you've given to Spanish Fork. And we just love you, and we're going to miss you. And I secretly wish that you and Steve could just still come to everything, all the events, because I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you guys.
If you feed me, I'll be there.
We're secretly going to be going to other events.
I'm excited for your next stage of life. You guys are going to have so much fun. And we personally just want to say thank you for your service and for your sacrifices. It's not easy being a wife of a city councilman or a wife of a mayor. They're gone a lot. And we just want to thank you. And Chris, yes, your wife is gone. But we just love you so much, and thank you for everything. And we have a couple gifts for you that we want to give you in this bag to remember us by, always.
I'm going to remember you
I know.
always.
But you'll see when you open it. So, anyways, we love you, Cheryl, and we love you, Steve.
Thank you
so much.
so much.
Hey, is there something by your feet there that you'd bring out? One of the things that I did when Rod and Richard were retired was I wrote to their favorite baseball clubs. You just said it right here. And it's funny because no one knew that Mayor Leifson's favorite baseball club was the Giants until they started doing really good this summer. And it's all he could tell me and Rod at all the Dons football games. The three of us run the scoreboard, and he'd be like, "Hey, you guys see my Giants? How about my Giants?" And me and Rod would look at each other and go, "Yeah, you're Giants." Well, I reached out to the San Francisco Giants, and they sent a kind letter that I've laminated, and I'll just read one line from it. You can have the rest. It says, "With great honor and on behalf of the players, coaches, and the front office staff of the 2010, 2012, and 2014 World Series champion San Francisco Giants, we thank you for your dedication, support, and loyalty. We hope this season brought you as much joy as it did. We hope to see you at Oracle Park in the near future. Go Giants. So this is a bunch of Giants swag from the council.
Wow.
And this letter from the San Francisco Giants. So
My gosh.
for the, don't change.
That's the nicest thing anybody's ever done.
Well, pretty close. Pretty close.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. You want me to say some more things?
Yeah, go ahead. Or do you want him to go at the end, Mike?
You want to end with your poem?
I don't care.
End with your poem.
Whatever you guys want.
Everybody else.
Go ahead. Whatever you want. Yeah, I'll end up. I'll end.
He'll back clean up.
Well, okay.
You lead off, you're fast.
I've seen the Gordon back cleanup. It's not pretty.
All thanks.
I need to keep this short, right, or I get in trouble. So thanks. Your turn. No, I'm kidding. So I looked up what it takes, what makes a good politician, and it said honesty. Google said honesty, self-awareness, deferential to others, active listening, and walks the talk. So I figure about 2 out of 5 for those. But 400 is not too bad, so that's pretty good.
That's a good average.
I had a chance to present to a bunch of 7th graders a few weeks ago. I think a couple of us did, about what Spanish Fork City Council mayor does. And if you look up what the mayor does, it just does not do justice to what Steve does. It's the small things that you never ever get to see. It's the late nights over at MAG where him being there, saying something, making a point about something, benefits our community in a significant way. I-15 is as wide as it is down to Spanish Fork because of the efforts that Steve made. And those things just go unnoticed. Those things just are expected to happen. And that's a $100 million investment that wouldn't have happened if the squeaky wheel wouldn't have squeaked. So it's those things that he just is put in the time that no one ever gets to see. Everyone sees this Steve, but it's the countless hours after the fact when the lights go off and people go away that really make a difference to the citizens of Spanish Fork. And I've learned a great lesson that way. I watched over the last 16 years you do this job, and it's inspiring, and it's one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to be on city council is to continue that good work that Steve's done. And it's an honor to be sitting up here next to you. And it's when you all appointed me back in June, it was the biggest honor of my life, I think. And I appreciate it. It's you immediately have a new family when you get on here, and Steve is the leader of that, and I can't thank you more. When my mom passed away, you two were one of the first people up there knocking on the door saying all well wishes and thank you. And Cheryl, I can't say enough good things about you. You are just a tremendous person, and thank you for liking my questions. That will be the highlight of my entire 2021 by far. So I'm glad someone likes them, so I appreciate it. And Steve, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your dedication, and thank you for your love for the city. Thank you.
I just wrote down a couple things. He's always early to meetings. I don't think he's ever been late. He's always there. If I'm 10 minutes early, he has still beat me. And I've really appreciated that. One time you weren't there, and I'm like, yes, he's not here. And I text you, and you're like, oh, I couldn't come, so I've already talked to them, and they know my answers. I'm like, oh, okay. But you're always early. He's always had Cheryl's support. She has backed him up for every meeting. I love that you come to so many things. I love that you watch city council and razz him and text him and it's fun. And he's always called me on my birthday, and it was truly only about a year ago when I heard that he called everybody. Like, oh, thank you. I have always appreciated the history that he has shared with us when we are at different events, whether it's like a groundbreaking ceremony or a ribbon cutting. Just different tidbits of history from your family's heritage here to your Icelandic heritage to different buildings or people in the community. It just helps us all feel more connected. So I've always appreciated those stories. I've always appreciated you trusting my ideas, like that one time I had us all dress up in Toy Story characters at the library park.
Yes.
Yeah, you were Buzz.
I just got out of therapy over that.
But it was fun. It was memorable. And I always liked hearing. How did you have that?
Nick's amazing.
Wow.
Sheesh. Where are you finding all these pictures?
I always liked hearing what Louis L'Amour books he was reading. He knows I'm an avid reader, so he would send me pictures of his latest finds. Hey, I was at this bookstore and I found these books. So he always updated me to let me know that he was an avid reader as well. So just thank you for trusting my role in the things that you appointed me to and checking in, and thank you for your example. I echo what Shane says. I love our camaraderie up here. I'm sure Mike will continue that splendidly, but you definitely set the tone. It feels like family with all of us, and I love you and Cheryl, and thank you so much for your years of support.
Chad, are you going again?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go?
I was a citizen then.
Okay. Okay, all right. I thought Amber was gonna get emotional. She held it together pretty good, but she was telling me some of the stuff. I know, she was saying earlier today, and I'm like, geez, that's pretty good stuff. But it's true, because Steve is not what he is without Cheryl, so thank you so much. As I thought about what to say to Mayor on this night, I kind of tried to narrow it down to 3 things, because he likes to have quicker meetings. So the 3 things that came to mind were loyalty, humility, and heritage. I didn't Google those. I hope those were on the list. But traits that Steve definitely has. Loyalty, the thought that came to my mind about loyalty with him is he's always told people in public and in private that he's loyal to Spanish Fork. He's told many a story of people maybe saying, hey, this is what I do for business, or this is what the land I own, or anything. But the mayor is always, you always know where his loyalty lies, and it is with the good of Spanish Fork, regardless of who's talking or what it's about. It's for the good of our city, and we've always known that. So thank you for being fiercely loyal for Spanish Fork. Humility. Wherever we've been, and we go to a lot of places together as councilman and mayor, and some of those places across the state, people know that we have some success in Spanish Fork, and so they always ask us, well, what are you doing? What are we doing? What are we doing wrong? What are you doing right? And Steve, I cannot tell you, he doesn't miss a beat of just, it's the great people in Spanish Fork. That's not a typical politician's answer. Pay attention to politics today. If somebody gives a senator or a congressman or anybody a compliment of what's going on in their city, they will trip all over themselves to take credit for what's going on. And Steve does just the opposite. He says, it's the great employees we have, it's the great citizens we have in Spanish Fork. And he's done that numerous times. Also, one of the humility stories that came to mind when I thought about that was a couple of years ago we had opportunity to do a Christmas season kind of giving thing for a family that was well deserving, and we finished a basement in just a few days and surprised a family that fostered children. And you won't know this a lot about Steve and Cheryl, but the connection that they had with that family that fosters children and their history of fostering children, the love and the hugs and tears between that family just spoke to your character and your humility to help those people out, and especially that dad out. That moment, that project changed me. I know it changed our little family, and that was because of your leadership there. Heritage. So the third, heritage, it's been said, Tyler brought it up, the mayor brought back the home of pride and progress. His family's roots run deep here, and they always will. During the political silly season, every 4 years, and not precluding this last year, there's people that always say, something about, the people that are born and raised here or whatever. And I appreciate you bringing that up. The people that love Spanish Fork generationally, that is Steve and Cheryl to a T. It was brought up, hey, what did you do for the pandemic? Nobody plans on governing over a pandemic, but I couldn't imagine a better leader to have through a pandemic than the way you did it. We're the only city that held a rodeo, and there was a lot of reasons why not to hold a rodeo, but Steve was adamant in leadership to make sure that happened for us as residents. It brought us together as a community, reminded us of human connection and how important that is. The business side of it, never, ever did we, mandate to businesses of what to do. The opposite. We gave them the freedom to operate and help them even put in a program. Jesse can speak to that, of how beneficial that was to so many businesses that Steve helped pioneer of how to get money in citizens' hands so they could spend it on local businesses. What a track record. What a great historical thing that happened there. The history, when I think of Pride and Progress, I think, you're proud of your history. Steve's very proud of the history of Spanish Fork, the history of his family, but it's never stopped him from being focused on progress. A few of the points that Tyler brought up too, I just think of a few in the last 16 years. Economic development, pressurized irrigation, SFCN, multiple options of housing across all of our city. We're the safest city in the state, sometimes in the nation, and a Spanish Fork hospital built. Steve's proud of that, and he should be, because that was a lot of effort. Nobody knows, how close that is to not happening in Spanish Fork without good leadership from Mayor Leifson. And now kids are born in Spanish Fork, and people are taken care of. Lives are saved in Spanish Fork, and it's due to your leadership. So many years into the future, we'll benefit, both us as an elected body, but you as citizens and us as a city, because of we'll benefit. We'll see the fruits of your labors for many years to come. I remember looking at Jagger out here a couple of weeks ago. One of your daughters said, it's going to be great. You're going to do great. And I'm excited for my dad and mom to have a good time in retirement and stuff. And she says, and I was little when he started. And I'm thinking, she was married with kids when she said that to me. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a long time to be serving your community. And so it speaks to you and Cheryl. I'll end with this. We got to hear from Governor of South Dakota last week at a conference, Kristi Noem. If you've watched the news ever, you've seen her in the news quite a bit. She said something that I had to write down when she said it because it stuck with me. She said that her dad told her one time that a leader with no followers is just a man out for a walk. And I think that's a lot of maybe political leaders these days. They feel like they're leaders, but do they really have followers? And I can attest that Steve is not just a man out on a walk. He is a leader with followers, and we've followed you. You've led us well. The city has followed you. Residents have followed you, and again, we'll be benefited for years to come. So we love you both. We're going to miss you both, but we know you're on to bigger and better things and enjoying life after this. So we love you and wish you all the best. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
So just some extra words. First of all, I want to just say thanks, Steve, for allowing me to serve with you, for trusting me with some assignments. I think about the very first one that I had. It was a tough one, and we went through it, and me and Stacy both went a real tough time, and I kept thinking, did he just do that to me just because? But at the end of it, it was better. It was a good learning curve, and you gave us some good advice to stay with it and stick it out, and we're better for it. Thank you for allowing us to serve our communities and the various boards that we've had an opportunity to serve, those many boards that we have. I've grew up on the east end of town over the last 25 years, and when I say we're becoming a minority in our community as it's grown. As I've had people move into the ward up there, I'd ask them where they was from, and of course they'd tell me, and usually the case was she was from Virginia and he was from California, and they met at BYU, and I know you've heard that 100 times. And then they'd say, where are you from? And I'd say, well, Spanish Fork. And, well, where's your wife from? Spanish Fork. And then you'd say, well, have you lived here your whole life? And I said, yes, I have, and my grandparents have, and my great-grandparents have. And Steve's real good to let you know his heritage and his Icelandic heritage. Some of the first people that come to Spanish Fork, and we're getting really few as this community grows. And the people that moved in are awesome. They're coming here for the reason that I mentioned before. This city is a safe, wonderful, great place to live and raise a family. And the quality of life here is exceptional, and we hear it all the time. And that's on your shoulders, Steve. 16 years is not an easy time to serve. And Cheryl, it's not an easy time to have him walk out the door constantly and greet him when he comes back. Thank you for your support and service also. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to be a part of this in this community. I'm looking forward to the future and what it'll bring and what'll happen. And some of those things that are continue to grow that you said. One thing I always have really appreciated when they've had some tough decisions to make. Dave Euler or Seth, and they were in a meeting when the mayor was there, and I love the fact that sometimes you have to be really stern about it, and Steve can do that. And by doing that, what Shane said, it benefits Spanish Fork hugely. And not just, I mean, roads, contracts, the mayors in our community who meet continually because of Steve, discuss issues, and things are solved. When you talk about behind the scenes, we come here twice a month and meet here for a few hours. Sometimes it gets late, but those after hours meetings and things that it takes some real fortitude and love of the city and concern and knowledge to go forward with it, and Steve's done that. And I've always much appreciated that, Steve, because sometimes it's just irritating when you hear things and it's like, and then the mayor stood up and set them straight, and that took care of it. And so I think Mike will be able to do that. He's learned well. Thank you for your service. Wish you the very, very best in your whatever you're going to endeavor and where you're going to go. Hawaii, of course, maybe to a Giants game, it looks like. So good luck to you. Thanks for including me in part of this. Thank you.
Mayor, let me just say one thing before we let Brandon conclude. Or not one thing, two things. First of all, from all of the employees, thank you. You've been a great friend to them. Tyler mentioned in his comments, and Stacy quipped about being called on her birthday, but that is such a simple and powerful thing that you have done. And it's just part of your nature. And I hear over and over again from the employees how special they feel and know that they are on their birthday when you call them. And many, many employees have commented to me, not just one or two, but truly many, have commented to me that they know they matter because you call them. They know they matter because you know their name. They know they matter because if you see them in the parking lot, in the store, and some activity, that you stop and talk with them, and not just them, but all of their family. And I can speak to that because my children love you. You're a grandpa to them, and they've grown up with you as their mayor. And everywhere they go, if they see you, of course, you know what they're going to do. They run up and give you a hug, and you make them feel like they're just top of the world. And I love to think that that's just for them, but at the same time, I know that's everybody. You just make everybody feel like they are the one, and it's a real gift, and we appreciate that. So from all the employees, thank you for being you and being so special. And then this community, I've watched you since 2005, and I was young and new here, and I watched you in some pretty tough meetings right from the beginning of your time here, really standing up for what you believed Spanish Fork to be. And there were some critical decisions that were made in some of those first meetings that you were in, and you stood up strong. and you took a hard line and spoke from your heart about what you thought Spanish Fork was, and that's how Spanish Fork still is. And it's because you had that vision of what you thought it was, what you thought it should be, and how you thought it should stay. And we have so many great things here because of what you've done. They really are numberless in the things that we have. I think if people talk about the great things about Spanish Fork, there are just about anything they could say. We could ask anybody to say something right now, and probably almost every one of them would have your thumbprint somewhere in there. That's what happens when somebody serves for 16 years, and that's what happens when somebody serves as dedicatedly as you have. So from all the employees and the hard work that you've done on behalf of the community, we just say thank you.
See how well I know you. Did you get a Charlie horse while Mike was talking? You guys, you should. I just know Mayor. I've sat next to him for so long that I could see. And then I thought I was moved by Mike's words for a minute there, but the reality is I know Steve, it's happened enough up here that he said, hey, I got a Charlie horse. But some of the things that didn't fit in my poem, I just, sorry. You've made this fun. I know it sounds crazy because I like to joke a lot, but Steve was kind of my first. I already knew Rod. I didn't know Richard. Steve made it fun from the get-go for me, and so for that, it wouldn't fit in my poem. I promise. I would call him after my meetings late at night, whenever, and he would answer, and we'd talk through, and we'd talk about anything. And he would listen, and he would coach me, and he helped me. And so I just really appreciate you trusting me with something more than Miss Spanish Fork. You let me grow up into some other responsibilities, and garbage might not seem that important to some, but it is to me. And so is where all of your doo-doo goes when it flushes, so that's important to me. Okay, I'll try and get myself together. I knew Angie trained me to give Tara, there's a copy of this very sacred poem. I won't have to type it. I apologize for getting emotional, but I tell you what, I think I'm just gonna miss sitting next to Steve and just having like a big brother next to me. So, Mayor Leifson, okay. When you're new on the council, there is fire by baptism, and you learn really quick to listen for the Steve Leifson's mayorism. Listen for them in my poem. Sorry, Steve, this is not the Chris Thompson Reader's Digest version. Today you get to hear Gordo talk about a Steve Leifson friendship conversion. At first you treated me like you were my father. In the words of Stallone in Rocky IV, I didn't care for you much, none either. You asked me if I was just someone else's puppet, but I learned from you and gleaned experience to then fill my bucket. I learned very quickly this mantle was heavy and legit. And it's your world. I'm just happy to be in it. You've taught me lessons about being a father, good husband, and about life. You're still my friend because you've not zip-lined with my wife. Of course, you and I have not been to Mexico, because all the Spanish you know, mucho grande el pescado en el rio. Got it. If you know Steve, you know. It would get a little stressful working on the budget around May, especially when you would tell some staff they might want to refresh their resume. You could keep people on their toes with the words that you've said if I had $1 for every time you looked at Seth and uttered the phrase, "off with their heads." Every month with city bills, your words would go out in the mailer. You taught me that smooth seas never made a good sailor. When it comes to English skills, you and me couldn't be further apart. I mean, I had sophomore English for 3 years with Miss Ann Dart. A few things you would say, I would have to spell check. But the best is when Stacy came along and brought with her Councilwoman Beck. Is it councilman, woman, or member? I know it's hard to get old and for things to remember. I know.
Get what you get.
In closed session for roll call, you would say, "Those in present." Who am I to tease you about English? We all knew what you meant. Well, the last 10 years for me have flown by. I'm going to miss you saying, "All in flavor," say I. Well is a deep subject for such a shallow mind. Good thing our new mayor is not coming in blind. Mayor Mike will follow your example of how things in SF are done. We don't hit singles here, we hit home runs. Your sweet wife Cheryl supported you with all her heart in. She had great career to prep her while she taught kindergarten. You worked hard all 16 years and brought back the pride and progress. Now go retire with your wife and enjoy life with less stress. Don't you worry about the budget, lawsuits, or graffiti. We got this. Go spend some time with your sweetie. Go on vacation, cruise on the big boat. I'll be here to remind Shane he's only one vote. A lot has changed over the last 16 years. You're a part of that effort, and for that I give you cheers. I'd like to tell you, thank you very little. We have a lot of new businesses and a new hospital. It's hard to believe these times come to an end, and I'm lucky to have served with you and call you a friend. I appreciate you being a friend I will always look up to. I hope you know me and my family really, really love you. Gordo.
Wow, 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 wow. You know, it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve Spanish Fork. And just the association with all the people. You know, someone said, "Are you going to miss it?" And I said, what I'm going to miss is the relationship with people. That's what I'll miss. I don't know if I'll miss the 12:30 meetings or gone every night. Cheryl said, "You're going again? You got something every night this week." And I said, "Yeah, that's part of the job." But, you know, it's been said, we have the best citizens in the whole state and the whole world. We have the best employees, and we have the best staff, and we have the best leaders. You know, none of this could have been possible just by me. It's all these great people that you've elected and have the same interests as I have. That, you know, the one motto I've always said is what's best for Spanish Fork? What's best for the city? You know, and as you keep that in mind, all the decisions are really easy to make up here. And so we try to do what's best for this city. I love this city with all my heart. I love all you people. It's been a great run. It's been a great 16 years. I can't believe it's been 16 years. I mean, it's just unreal. Time went by so fast, and you know, I know Cheryl's really excited to have me come back. And but I just want to thank Spanish Fork. I want to thank each and every one of you, and my counsel to everybody is get involved. Get involved in the city. We were involved with the city long before I even had an inkling to run for city council. You know, you can do anything. We were raking rocks down at Volunteer Park. We were helping with the Fiesta Day parade. You know, there are so many things that you can do here in the city. This is your hometown. Make it your hometown, and do that by getting involved and celebrate all the celebrations we have, and just love everyone. You know, if there's one thing I get from this is, you know, we just need more love for each other. And if we do that, you know, we're gonna be fine. You know, the world's gonna go crazy, but you know, our little part of it can be awesome. And we can make a little bit of heaven right here. And so, I really appreciate everything, and especially, I want to tell my sweet wife, my bride, how much I love her. Without her, there is no way I could do any of this. And so I've got a little gift for you. Right here, sweetheart, there are 16 roses for 16 years. Well, here, I'm going to come down here.
Yeah, you are.
Do it.
You brought the wagon.
It's a good thing we didn't run again. I don't know if I could come up with 24 roses. But she's been my rock. She's been my salvation. I'll tell you what, she knows more about what goes on in the city than most people. I mean, she can stand and talk politics with the best of them, believe me. And she does. And it's awesome. So I want to thank her and my family, and I want to thank all you because you're my family. And, you know, this is overwhelming, and just thank you. Thank all of you. I love you all. So thank you. Wow. Okay. All right, can you load up the wagon? Yeah, you better take that, because Brandon will probably take it back. I'll keep this. I'm not gonna I'm gonna sleep with that tonight. Jagger, look at that. It's amazing how he has to be bribed by candy from his dad. All right. Wow, sorry, I apologize for you guys that got to have to sit through all that, but
it was worth it.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a great ride. And all right, let's get back to business, you know, where we should be here. All right, let's move E up. We're going to go to E next. Is that where you want to go? E? All right. So we got the fiscal 2021 independent financial report. Reader Digest version.
We will keep it quick.
86 pages.
Thanks, Rod, man.
That Rod's out.
I don't blame you. He's, yeah, we know all about it.
I don't know what it is about finances that sends people run for the door. Yeah.
It's the word audit, Jordan.
It's the word audit. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for your example. I've known Mayor since I was a young man, and he's been a great example for me.
Thank you.
Appreciate your service, you and Cheryl as well. We have our auditor here from Larson Company CPA firm. They'll share their audit opinion on our financial statements, which is it's management's responsibility to prepare, and then they give their opinion on it. So I'll turn the time over to Josh Heidenthaler.
Good. I'm sure he'll be quick too.
I've learned real quick, I'll be quick. Nobody wants to hear me long.
There you go.
So just first off, the financial statements are in like a final draft. There's just a few wording and rounding that we just need to get figured out, and Jordan's working hard on that. So that's the reason why you don't have final financial statements, but that does not affect our opinion. And we know that that is the importance of what we do. So as Jordan first mentioned, the responsibility of the financial statements and the fair presentation thereof is the responsibility of management. we as auditors perform limited procedures which involve inquiries, analytics in terms of comparisons from year to year, and confirmations with third-party vendors and other institutions. And we set forth a materiality, and then we analyze the financial statements as prepared and determine if they are materially correct. And our opinion is that to express an opinion on financial statements, and our opinion this year for Spanish Forks City, June 30th, 2021 financial statements is a clean or an unmodified or unqualified opinion. For both the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information as presented in financial statements. Along with the financial statements is a section called required supplementary information. This is information that the United States of America has required management include along with their financial statements, but is not part of financial statements, but assist with the understanding and interpretation thereof. That section, we do not express our opinion, but we do ensure that it is consistent with the information that is presented in the financial statements. Other information that is included with the financial statements, and this was determined by management, are items like the combining of individual and non-major funds. On the financial statements, they're grouped together as one column, but management has decided to, in later after the financial statements, you can see every fund broken out, and you can see the effects of those funds and how they are functioning, as well as the schedule of federal awards. This year, as in years past, you guys have had a single audit, which we issue a supplementary but statement or opinion that goes along with the financial statements. And our opinion, our report on that is that it is, again, management's responsibility to ensure compliance with all federal mandates and statutes as determined by the granting agencies, and for the fair presentation and representation of the awards. Our opinion is over the major funds, the major federal award funds, which are determined through a systematic way. But basically, it's anything over $750,000, a single grant, or if it's deemed a high risk by the granting agency. And this year, as in last year, we audited the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which got the CFDA number of 21.019. And our opinion is that Spanish Fork City complied in all material respects with the types of compliance required in our job as auditors, and that our opinion is, again, a clean, unmodified, or unqualified opinion on that. Two other reports that we are required to give is an independent auditor's report on compliance and report on internal controls over compliance. And it is management's responsibility to come up with internal controls and make sure that they are functioning properly and implemented. Our job as auditors is to document them and make sure that they're aware, but we do not analyze the functionality of them, and we do not have any reliance on them when we perform our audit. But with that, we do acknowledge that Spanish Fork has implemented and established a fair amount of internal controls, and that they are in accordance with guidance required by management. Our other report is a report from the state auditors, and it is a compliance report on state compliance, where we outline the following areas that we analyze. And this year we had to do the budget, fund balance, restricted taxes, fraud risk assessment, and government fees. The government fees is the new one. The rest have been there for a few years at least. And again, it's management's responsibility to ensure that they are compliant with all state laws and regulations. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on the compliance of those requirements that I just stated above, with those areas stated above. And our opinion for Spanish Fork City, June 30th, 2021, is that they complied in all material respects with the state compliance requirements. So again, a clean, unmodified, unqualified opinion for that. Our last requirement to discuss is a letter to management. To council, sorry. It is our responsibility to discuss with council any issues or any events that came about during our audit with management. And first, we'd like to express our gratitude for management. Jordan's there, willing to give us everything that we ask, and at least to our faces, he doesn't complain much. But he was vital in getting the information, and ultimately the results of the audit is the responsibility of management and the award of management doing their job. Two aspects that we have to acknowledge is that it is management's responsibility to establish the accounting policies, and that is in accordance with GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. The management is supposed to set those responsibilities, and if you're ever bored and want to find those out, they are note 1 of the financial statements. It is also management's responsibility to do accounting estimates. The financial statements are full of accounting estimates. Some examples are the ability to collect on accounts receivables. They have an allowance for doubtful accounts, as well as things as depreciation. Depreciation has a lot of guidance on how to determine it, but it still is a estimate, as you don't ever really know how long a vehicle is going to last you or how long a building is going to stay standing. So those are estimates that management is responsible to set, and we determine the consistency of those estimates, and as well as the reasonableness behind management's determination of those estimates. And we did not encounter any difficulties working with Jordan and his team and Kent before he decided to leave us. As well as we did not have any corrections that management did not agree with or make as we went through the financial statements. Any discrepancies that we came about, we were able to resolve and set those forth in the financial statements. The other thing we have to realize is, or announce, is management gave us a separate letter which they have signed saying that they have provided us with all the information and access to all the information that we need to express our opinion. And management did do that. The only other matter is this year we had no state compliance findings and we had no internal control findings. And a status on last year's finding. You guys had one finding last year, which was the gun club exceeded budgeted appropriations for the year, and that has been resolved, and that you guys have been setting budgets appropriate and not spending funds exceeding those budgets. I'll open it up to any questions that governance might have.
Is Jordan going to jail?
No.
Okay, that's all we need
Not
to
today,
know.
not today.
That's all we need to know.
Kent, on the other hand.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Keeping us on their toes. Okay, let's move to I, Wood Springs LLC Real Estate Purchase Agreement.
Sorry, do we need a motion to approve that?
Oh, do we need?
It's on the agenda
Yes,
as
sir.
such. The independent financial audit report.
Are you taking over his?
It says I move to approve fiscal year 21 independent financial audit report.
Second. Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, take it away, real estate man.
I know.
We, first off, we're really grateful for Dave and Caden, and remind me your name. Parker. And Parker, staying through this meeting. We appreciate that. So, Wood Springs LLC has submitted an offer to purchase 2.1 acres from the city. We had an agreement in place, and then mutually agreed to get rid of that agreement. And the agreement that you have on the agenda before you today is the new agreement. So what the agreement says, our objective when we purchased this property was to provide another route to go east and west here. So 1400 north, the objective is to get 1400 north from Main Street through to 300 west. And this agreement says that Wood Springs will pay $100,000 for the property up front, which is non-refundable. And then another $100,000 will be put into escrow and can only be released with the consent of both parties when this road is through, and it has to be through by the end of construction season of next year, which we put October 31st, 2022. So I guess if Dave and Caden and Parker can get through this meeting, we've got confidence they can get the road through by next year. So that's a lot of
Fair assumption.
yeah. And then another clause in this contract to help protect the city. One thing is this is the portion of the road that they're responsible typically as the developer to put in would just be this this area that fronts their property and the utilities as well. This specific agreement says that they have to get the road all the way through here, which means that these other two landowners have to put their portion of the road in as well. And Dave and his team have been working with them to get that through. There is a bond, cash bond, so that if the improvements don't get made, the city would have the ability to use those funds to finish the road. So it's a little bit different as far as the timeline goes of requiring cash bonds. We usually do that at the point when they're ready to develop, but with this agreement, as I stated before, the objective is to get the road through there.
Good. Anybody have any questions?
Just to clarify on the cash bond, 1 year from December 7th of '22. Or does that mean to read that we could call on the bond in '22?
We wouldn't be able to call the bond until the next
December 7th
year.
of '23.
Correct.
If it wasn't finished. Okay.
Mhm.
That's normal. That makes sense.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Wood Springs LLC real estate purchase agreement.
A motion by council member Beck.
Second.
Second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
We owe you.
Dave's not gonna say anything?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to D, Ordinance 2321, amending section, the Spanish Fork Municipal Code regarding the regular meeting of the City Council.
Mayor and council, hopefully this is quick as well. I was looking at the state code requires the city council to establish regular meetings by ordinance. And we've done that, except that it doesn't match our practice of holding only one meeting in July and one in December. And so I proposed a modification to that section of our code, and then adopting an annual meeting schedule for city council and planning commission each year, which will be done by ordinance or resolution. So I recommend you approve the draft ordinance. Any questions about that?
Any questions?
Anyway, we're gonna have 2 in December.
No. Well, you can have as many as you want.
We'll talk
I
about
go
it
to
next
3 or
year.
4.
We'll talk about it next year. All right, never mind. My
All
bad.
right. I'd entertain a motion. Oh,
Maybe before, you can always add, and you can always take away, but this is what would be the standard
The
set of
standard.
meetings, and then if we want to call us, what did
Yeah,
you say, a special meeting, thank you. If you want to add something, we can always do that.
Okay.
all right. Now I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve 23-21, amending section 2.08.020 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code regarding regular meetings of the City Council and establish an annual meeting schedule for 2022.
Got a motion by Councilman Argal.
Second.
Second by Councilman Mendenhall. Roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Enthusiasm, huh?
Yeah. Resolution 2128 regarding voter participation areas.
You can do this one too. We're required by state code to revise our voter participation areas by January 1st of next year, but we do not have a county precinct level data sufficient for us to do that. The county acknowledges that's an issue, and they're going to get it to us as soon as they can. So they've asked that we just adopt a resolution acknowledging that we have these voter participation areas, they're based on our old data, and that we commit to update them as soon as we have the updated information.
Right. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2128 regarding voter participation areas.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall. Second. Councilman by Argal. Roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal. Aye. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Cold Springs Pipeline Rehab Phase 1 guaranteed maximum price. I knew we couldn't go without you.
So, just for the record, I have no questions.
Thank you. Noted. Cheryl will note it.
Changes. So, 10 to 15 years ago, we had several breaks of our large trunk line coming down the canyon, and it put a lot of people out of water for a long period of time. I remember being up all night, a couple nights in a row, just looking for welders, trying to find large concrete lined steel pipe wherever I could in the state of Utah, sometimes out of the state, trying to get welders to come in, cut out sections of this pipe that busted up, and finally we kept a bunch on site, and we did something that really helped the situation. We turned this pipeline over to our pressurized irrigation system. It was coming from Cold Springs, and we just moved Cold Springs over to pressurized irrigation at a much lower pressure. And that seemed to work really well for a lot of years. But we knew at some point we'd be ready to move Cold Springs back to drinking water. And I'm talking about part of Cold Springs. Part of Cold Springs has been on drinking water, but a large part has not been. And so we're now to the point where we want to move Cold Springs over to drinking water completely, especially with all the ULS water that we're now able to take. And in order to do that, we want to line this pipe all the way down the canyon so that we won't have any big breaks like that again. And the way we do it is we take this polyethylene pipe that's about that thick, and we pull it through the old pipe. So, you know, the pipe is a little bit smaller in diameter, but the frictional losses in the smooth walled poly pipe is a lot better than the concrete. So we gain a little bit of capacity that way. But in the end, we lose a little bit, but it's adequate for our needs. And so anyway, this is a pretty complicated project. We've had to install manways. We've had to video inspect the pipeline. We've had to deal with construction costs going through the roof, as well as pipe costs. We've actually pared down the project and up the canyon where pressures are really low, and our inspections showed that the pipe would hold. We put that off till future years, and we've done a lot on this project, but it was complex enough that we did this project through a CMGC contract, which means we bring a contractor on early on. This contractor actually helps with design, helps us weigh options and costs, helps us choose kind of the best route to take. We chose Whitaker, who actually built some of the pressurized irrigation system originally with us. Was a really good contractor then, has done some great projects for us since then, and they've done an outstanding job. Their guaranteed maximum price was, $2.16 million, but was within $7,000 of our engineer's estimate. Even though it was that close to the estimate, we sat down, we had Bone and Collins sit down and go line item through line item, and one of the comments that Bone and Collins made is that a lot of the line items were quite a bit cheaper than what they're bidding currently on things, and so we feel good about the price. We feel really good about the contractor. There's been quite a few things that have come up with the railroad via inspections and a really intense permitting process, as well as some requirements from UDOT that are going to cost quite a bit more, but we've been able to account for it in our budget. This is one of our bond projects. And the way that we set up our bond projects is we had these critical projects that we wanted, and then we bonded for more. And the plan was to use that towards replacement projects through the blocks. And because this project will cost more, we'll have to put off some of those block replacement projects, which we anticipate looking into the future that we'll have funds to do that. So, any questions?
The reason there's no bid tabs is because it was a CMGC proposal, right? You interviewed other companies.
Yeah, so this is a self-perform.
Right, okay. How many others? Companies did you
So,
interview?
yeah, so when we selected Whitaker, I think there was 4 or 5.
Okay.
And we had a committee that selected that.
Good.
So what are you looking for?
To accept the guaranteed maximum price of $2,161,749.50 for the lining of the pipeline.
I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Cold Springs Pipeline Rehab Phase 1 guaranteed maximum price.
Second. A motion by Councilmember Marshall, second by Councilman Argyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Chris, next time, will you put the cost comparisons in? Yeah, thanks. Just for my nerdiness.
River Run Holding and Land Purchase Agreement.
This one actually could have probably gone on consent, but it just in case we had to change the date. Off with the head.
Refresh your resume.
Should not have brought that up. I should have just gone on with this.
A wing and a miss.
So down by the fairgrounds, there's a parcel of property. It's about 6 acres that we've contracted with River Run Holdings to purchase. Originally, the closing date was supposed to take place before December 31st of 2021, and we'd like to extend that out to 2022. This is, it's actually mutually beneficial for both parties. So, any questions on that?
So this happened before I was here, but just, can you tell me why we want that parcel?
To be able to expand the fairgrounds and provide some additional amenities down there when the day comes. And also, there are some units, some townhome units that are just south of that parcel of property. It would provide a little bit of a buffer.
Don't want townhomes next to the rodeo.
No, we don't want that. And the county's supposed to be helping us on this one.
Yeah, so the county
County's gonna purchase it.
is supposed to pay for, well, we need to negotiate that, but, yeah.
Okay. You're not looking for approval to buy the property anyway, you're just looking for approval to
Just for an
change the date.
addendum, yeah, really just to change the closing date on that. Yep.
Price stays the same, right?
You're right.
Correct.
Yep, it does.
Yep.
I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve River Run Holdings Land Purchase Agreement Addendum as explained.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Resolution 2129, authorizing Spanish Fork City to participate in settlement with distribution of the Jensen and abate the opioid.
Mayor and council, this is, the state of Utah's in litigation with a number of pharmaceutical companies regarding their involvement in the opioid epidemic. They've reached a settlement, and the scope of the settlement and how much money the state would receive is dependent on how many cities and counties join in the settlement. To participate in the settlement, the Utah cities are required to adopt a resolution authorizing that and granting authority to settle the lawsuit, and to register on their National Opioid Settlement website. I completed that registration and indicated the mayor would be signing those documents if this resolution is approved. This kind of the scope of how much money the city might receive and what purposes it can be used for is still a little bit to be determined. But this is kind of a door that if we don't walk through it by the end of this year, then it'll be closed to us forever. So I recommend adopting the resolution.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2129, authorizing Spanish Fork City to participate in settlements with distributors and Janssen to abate the opioid epidemic.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall,
Second.
second by Councilman Argal. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilmember Mendenhall.
Aye.
Do your thing.
I move we go into closed session for land transaction and reasonably imminent litigation.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon,
Second.
second by Councilman Mendenhall. Roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Marshall.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
I could go by Councilmember Shane. I could be okay there.
Yeah, I know she would. I did it for her. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and thanks for all the memories. Happy trails to me.
Recycling can be a simple thing that has